why don't we start with our flag salute? Any volunteers? No. Don't rush to volunteer.
You want me to
Michael?
I'll do the flag salute.
All right, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, it's off on standard. All right, everybody has the ability to stand. Please stand when you move your hat. Face the American flag. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
Thank you.
Play ball!
Okay, we're going to start our meeting. It is 6:04. Today is the 12th of August, Monday, and we'll go ahead and I'm not sure if we have any students here today. I don't think so. But if any students do show up, point them toward Melanie, and she'll sign off on their time.
First day of school.
So,
they got their assignments yet.
So let's go ahead and call this meeting to order, and let's take roll.
John Barbera.
Here.
Vic Christensen. Here. John DeMiglio.
Here.
Larry Eaton is excused, if I remember right. Larry Eaton?
Larry's not here. Oh, Larry. I'm sorry. Yes.
Larry Eaton.
Yes, he is excused.
Craig Goldfarb is excused. Cynthia Gagne.
Here.
Gwen Henry.
Present.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Here.
Kelly Miller.
Here.
Abby Norman. Thomas Norman.
Present.
Ray Regaletto.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Adam Stevenson has resigned. Angela Sumner is excused. And Chris Valle.
Here. Okay, let's go ahead
That is 12.
Great. Let's go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. It's general public comment. I have 3.
I thought the Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. President.
We already did it.
Oh, really?
So we have 3. I have 3, I think. Yeah, 3 public speaker cards, public comment cards. So with that, let's go ahead and start with number 1, and that is Gwen as a stakeholder.
Hi, everyone. I make regular public speaking moments before the meeting about the animal shelter, the status over there. It's still over capacity, 3 times over capacity. They are still in emergency mode. And anyone who can foster, just take an animal out, give them a home, or adopt, please do. Now, there is additional pressures, and that's what the update is today, is that in the LA County shelter system, and that is kind of our sister system under Janice Hahn and the rest of the LA commissioners, the Baldwin Park shelter, which services a very vast area, it's closed down because they have a staph infection outbreak. That doesn't bode well for the animals in the area or the animals inside that shelter. But what the county is doing now is emergency mode. They are diverting any animals that come in from the vast area that Baldwin Hills, that it services. They're sending them to Downey, and they're sending them to Carson. And what that means is Downey has made an announcement that strays have a 72-hour window, and that's it. There's euthanasia going on. They are beyond overcapacity. People who might be in Glendora, Laverne and places like that. If they lose their animal, it may end up at Downey. It may end up at Carson. But what that also means is that the entire shelter system, including the county, is overwhelmed, and that could impact LA City. I have notified CD15 to please reach out to Janice Hahn, please reach out to Stacey Day and see if this might potentially have a cascading effect and impact Harbor Shelter even more. And also to keep tabs on this shelter and find out if the numbers here are greater than maybe in West LA, because they may be even more over capacity here. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Next speaker will be Lori Jacobs.
Good evening, board, stakeholders. I have updated information on the Day of Peace. I have some postcards out on the table. The postcard now has a website that is peacedayla.org. And when you go there, it will have FAQ, frequently asked questions about the event. It will also have an opportunity if anybody wants to be an exhibitor or a sponsor, how to do that. And more importantly, what I'm in charge of is volunteers. So we have volunteer shifts that are 2 hours and 15 minutes. And the information, there's an online registration form. Just click on Get Involved, and it'll take you right to there. It takes a lot of people. We're trying to get about 170 people to handle this. I'm working on trying to get preferred parking for volunteers, if that's an incentive for anybody. And you will get a T-shirt if you volunteer for one of these shifts. They really don't want anybody to work more than one shift because they want you to enjoy the event. And Dr. Jane Goodall will be speaking at 2:30. But all the information is on the website. Go ahead and take a postcard, and feel free to reach out to anybody you know who was interested in volunteering. Needless to say, having Jane Goodall here, it's going to be an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. And our last speaker card is from Michael Signorelli as a stakeholder.
Hello, board, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm speaking today on behalf of Peck Park Community Center. Just want to relay that we have finished our summer camp. Summer camp was successful throughout the city of Los Angeles, but we think here at Peck Park, we served about 40 to 50 kids per week. That was over a 9 week. That was over 9 weeks. And then now we are registering for our fall programs. So, well, let me back up because we've been discussing pickleball. Pickleball here at Peck Park is now open to the general public. So, yes. Construction began in April, and during that time, our pickleball players were playing on 2 of our tennis courts. They were chalking lines, so they had to chalk lines almost every single time they were going to play. Now we have 8 dedicated pickleball courts in addition to our 4 tennis courts. So pickleball is open from sun up until 9:30 or 10 when lights go off.
Oh, wow.
So in addition to our pickleball, we also are registering for our fall programs. Our sports includes volleyball and flag football. And we also have martial arts and cheer that we are registered for as well. So Peck Park is up and running. Come play pickleball. It is all designated into different abilities. So if you are a beginner, you are welcome. If you are an expert, you are also welcome. So thank you for the time, and please visit Peck Park and enjoy some activities.
Thank you, Michael. All right. I have no other speaker cards, so we're going to bring agenda item number 2 to a close and move on to agenda item number 3, which is our presentation. We have, I'll say some very important information, very important work that's being done, very important stuff that goes on in our community with this presentation. So we're really happy that we have some great people here today. So with that, I'd like to introduce Amber Sheik. Didn't mean to surprise you.
Hello, everyone. I actually don't know if I've spoken to this neighborhood council while you've been in this space, so this is extra special. Hi, all. Before I get started, I'm going to introduce Catherine first, right? I just wanted to make sure. Catherine and I have already done this shtick before. So I want to introduce Catherine to speak first. And Catherine's going to share her story with us all. And one thing I would also say, especially when anyone shares their story and their experience, to be just very respectful of, everything, basically. And then I'll come back and get down to the brass tacks of, what's going on and numbers and things like that. So, Catherine, I'm going to sit right there in case you need anything.
Good evening, everybody. Let me get my voice together. Hi. Thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. Feeling torn living in two worlds is difficult to describe, but I'll give you my best effort. The trunk of my car is dark and snug. It sways violently as passing by big rigs and cars speed on. No one knows I'm in there, and that's the way I like it. The dark space in my trunk is the only solitude away from the depression and chaos of living on the streets. Only a few moments of peace before the thoughts of how I become homeless overwhelm me, so I smoke some indica to fall asleep. But those thoughts don't go away. They're right there greeting me in the morning. Waking up in a cramped space caused some panic attacks. I'd say to myself, you're homeless, you're sleeping in your trunk because you're terrified about the way you're being treated. A difficult year of fear, stress, exhaustion, and men treating my car like a drive-through. My life continued to degrade as much as the dirt began to build on my car's carpet. After losing my car, I was back to pushing my life in a grocery cart. Isn't this familiar? I would mock myself. Back to the streets where lawlessness and madness thrives, but I could tell it's gotten much, much worse. You see, there's this behavior on the streets, homeless to homeless, that you're a vending machine. People surround you, then take anything they want by force. It's sick how uncivilized people have become. The attitude of, I'm homeless, I'll do whatever I want, is destroying lives and eating away at our society. I was hurt and am still hurting physically and emotionally from this attitude. I was already embarrassed living in bushes and becoming a social outcast. It's really difficult growing up around here and being homeless because you literally feel shameful and you feel upset about having to live in park bushes, being homeless. But anyways, and becoming a social outcast where I grew up. It was even more disheartening living in a population preying on the homeless. I've had to abandon everything I own to save my own life. All because this is how homeless people are adapting to live. Creating a world of abuse, theft, murder, and terror. There's no homeless how-to booklet. You either get sucked into a gang environment or you're running away from it. And I chose the latter. I wasn't about to use my homeless status as an excuse to become my worst. Oh no. I wasn't about to lose my manners and good nature. I noticed that's what so many people did. There were times I almost did lose my respectabilities, though. Got dope. I felt the sneer crawling on my face. I despised the drug, and somehow being homeless labeled me as a meth addict. The tension in the air was already electrified, and the cool grass under the shade of a tree wasn't helping. Everything annoyed me. Happy faces, clean clothes, people's laughter. Now this stranger asking me for dope. I was about to explode, and there was nowhere for me to go. Everyone and everything reminded me of what I had lost. My mind was going off the deep end, and my blood was boiling. He must have felt my anger building because he quickly walked away. Bellowing out loud usually relieved the pressure, but there were too many people at the park. I've already been arrested before for yelling and crying in public, and I wasn't about to lose my freedom. Just then, a squirrel jumped into my view and kindly asked for a peanut. Damn, this squirrel's nicer than me right now. Here I am, sitting in a park, raging, losing my mind, and this wild animal isn't even on the same level as me. It took me a few minutes, but I began to laugh, and then the pressure subsided. I put myself in check and reminded myself that I'm a good person, living through a time of financial and emotional hardship. Everything was going to be fine. For 5 months now, my beautiful studio gives me a reason to keep trying. Not backpedaling to what I was doing on the streets, not doing what continued my homelessness. These situations of housing the homeless is a bit tricky. There were some nights that it felt like the streets were compartmentalized all around me. There were fights, lots of drug use, theft, property damage, chaos, now enclosed in a building. I trusted that it takes time to adjust and feel normal again. It has gotten better, but I have no control over what my neighbors are doing. I can only take care of myself. And trust me, I'd rather be living in my housing than living on the streets. It is so much safer. I chose to clean up, embrace this new and better part of my life. It takes dedication every day to feel better, but at least I have a solid footing now. As a flooring junk. Pun, by the way. Housing is a great first step to helping people stabilize and feel safe again. It has for me. Just know that, yes, there is turbulence and a lot of commotion at first. But what I'll leave you with is, we are as good as we treat ourselves. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your meeting. Thank you. Good night.
So Catherine did the amazing job of grounding us in the issue better than I did when I just came up from being with my kid, who was going to distract me most of the time. So I'm here to talk about some updates, because there's actually a lot of really positive things happening. And I know I've known many of you for many years. And in some ways, I'd say like we as a community like jump-started this work in a very solutions-oriented way about 6 years ago. And I always remember the number because it was right after I had that one. So as soon as that one was slightly able to be alone for a little bit, I started to come to meetings and meet many of the folks that are here and do this work and really think about how we can impact this solutions-oriented piece of it in San Pedro. And whenever I look at the numbers, I'm like, oh, we're there. And that gives me solace because it doesn't really feel like we're there some of the time. And I really want to acknowledge that sometimes we look around and I also get the sense of like, where are we? And that's why numbers give me a lot of solace, stories and numbers. But, one of the numbers I've been using a lot recently is that while we are housing and serving more folks than ever before, truly ever before, and I've worked in homeless services close to 20 years now, for every 100 that we house, 125 are becoming homeless. So it is like managing a fire hose of humans and human stories and individuals with individual needs and stories and solutions. But there are things that we know work, right? There's housing. There's giving someone a safe place to recover, actually, from experiencing homelessness or experiencing life on the streets or life in cars or life in garages or whatever it is. But the numbers give us a little bit of hope, too. I know many of you, I'm sure Lori has told you that our most recent homeless count, we saw our first slight decrease in 7 years. And while that seems very small, if you think about, like I said, the incoming versus what we're doing, both service-wise and housing-wise, any kind of decrease is actually a very huge decrease because of the number of folks we are housing and serving each day, each week, each year now. So even just in San Pedro alone, I was quickly getting out my grid of all the housing developments in CD15, and where we had no permanent supportive housing or affordable housing 6 years ago, we now have, and Beacon Landing, which Abode Communities created, is one of the newest ones that have opened. We also have one over on 9th Street that Link opened. So altogether, we have about 230 units that will be opening, or there's close to 100 that have already opened just in the last year. And one thing, too, that I want to differentiate for you all is there's permanent housing, which we just call housing, by the way, when we go home. Like, you all live in permanent housing, by the way. That's what we call it. So when we build permanent housing, it's just homes. Often it has supportive services to go with it to ensure that folks stay housed. But at the same time, I actually have services that ensure I stay housed, to be honest. Like, I have lots of support that comes in and helps me and my 2 kids and my life work. So in many ways, we all experience this. And then there's affordable housing, which is essentially just a different version of market value. And then there's temporary housing. And that's what we would call in back in the day, shelters, right? So that's housing that folks stay in for a smaller period of time to get ready to move into housing that we all experience. What else can I share? Does anyone, I'm also here just for questions. I realize that. My name is Amber. Hello, everyone. I am Amber Sheik. So I, along with other folks in this room, helped found the CD15 Working Group on Homelessness 6 years ago. I've worked in homeless services in and around for about 2 decades. I am our newest LASA commissioner as well. And I do street-level advocacy as well as policy work. A good example is I was actually on someone's case call today, someone that I worked with for 7 years who was in one of our largest encampments in the area for maybe about 6 years until the pandemic, and then we got her in one of our many temporary programs that happened during the pandemic. She got in room key and then home key, and then now has been in her apartment in Torrance for 3 years. And she's having some struggles thinking that she may want to move to a different apartment for some reasons. But it's someone that I've kind of worked with all along. So I was heartened as I just did that literally 3 hours before coming here and was on a call with 4 different caseworkers that work with her in different ways, that this is working, actually. Even when it feels like it isn't, when I drill down to the daily interactions I have with my friends that are either newly housed, are not yet housed, or have been securely housed for a few years, nothing's perfect, but it's working. So that's my piece of hope, I have to say. So that's who I am. So if you have any questions at all, I'm here for it. Gwen, or do I call on people? No, Ray calls on people.
Gwen, go ahead.
Hey, Amber.
Hey.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your story. And I'm glad you're doing well. I spoke on the animal shelter and the intakes. And this is countywide. It's nationwide. There is some indication, but no data, that leaving your animal is a sign of home insecurity. I'm wondering what LASA is doing on home insecurity, catching somebody before they become unhoused, as well as, has anyone considered having an intake question with the animal services which might inform homelessness and home insecurity, and reach out to services there at the animal shelter? Meaning that maybe a question, are you giving up your animal because you are concerned about the bills or some other reason,
Yeah, no, Gwendolyn, I actually really appreciate that. So just to be clear, I'm not here in an official capacity to represent LASA, as I'm not supposed to be doing that by myself. I usually have handlers when I do that. But I do know that there's lots of work being done to find where the various touch points are for folks. Libraries are one of them, right? Animal shelters could be another, and that's one that I actually will push forward as folks are talking about, like, where do we interface and interact with folks every day where there are signs of housing insecurity, that we can swoop in with a resource or even just awareness that there is help out there. So I really appreciate that. I will add that. Yeah.
Melanie.
I wonder, too, if for homelessness, if there would be a trigger, like if they would monitor like unemployment claims and stuff like that, to see if maybe through like the workforce and stuff, and also EDD, whether or not, somebody files an unemployment claim, are they housed? Are they at risk of losing housing or not paying the rent because they're filing this unemployment claim? That would be a way to maybe trigger like an alert, a red flag to say, start monitoring some of these people, because that's our biggest thing, I think, is trying to capture some of these people before they become homeless.
Yeah.
Domestic violence too. Claims.
There's a lot of effort with regards to some of those pieces, but truth be told, we barely have enough staff to manage homeless services as they are now, much less some of the more innovative sides of prevention and retention, right? And so we really do rely very heavily on our service providers working. Anecdotally, I can tell you we have 2 service providers, not in this exact area, but close by, who, caseworkers are paid so low that they themselves are housing insecure. And there's a formal agreement that because they can't serve their own staff, that they serve each other's staff with housing insecurity and all the benefits around that folks need. So it just gives you an example of kind of the resources we're working with to begin with. But absolutely, again, finding those touch points for prevention, there is, whole departments, not just in LASA, but at the county, in the County Homeless Initiative, and at the city working on some of these prevention strategies. Because truly, if we stopped the bleed into homelessness, there's like an anecdotal number, and Megan, I might it's something like we would actually house everyone in like 5 years or something that is currently homeless, because we are creating so much housing stock. So don't quote me on the years, but it is like within a handful of years, if no one else became homeless in LA, that's it. We'd be good. It's this 100 house, 125 homeless number that's throwing us off. So I agree. And we need to be focusing more on this prevention side. And as well as we have some really great housing developers out there. And I have to say that the 2 that we have in town that are our newest developments, which are Abode and Link, great housing developers that are really going to ensure that effort is put into retention, keeping folks housed. Whereas, in other areas of the city, unfortunately, given low staffing and resources, we see a lot of turnover. And that's not what we want to see. We don't want to just get someone off the street, put them there, and just throw away the keys and wish for the best. It's not a good strategy. Questions though? Anything
I
else?
saw a hand out in the audience.
Yes.
I want to echo, my name is Megan Calden. I'm a resident, I'm a local resident of Long Beach, but I just wanted to echo what Amber was saying. Housing insecurity doesn't happen because of one thing. And so we have a service provision approach and then we have a housing approach. And it's essential that we combine the two, but in order for people to prevent homelessness for working families, for single-parent households, in order to prevent homelessness for seniors that are perhaps not getting benefits that they need, we need to provide more housing. More homes equals less homelessness. And when we provide arrangement housing for a range of incomes, that makes whole communities. It means that people working in the coffee shop don't have to drive an hour home to Covina to afford their home. You know, it means that people can access their networks of support in their local neighborhood. And so I just kind of wanted to echo what Amber was saying in that it is a matter of, catching people before they, as they lose their jobs, but it's also a matter of ensuring that our friends and neighbors have the daily support that they need to maintain their housing.
Thank you.
Amen.
See the hand back there, and then John.
I have a question, but Amber got me working on homelessness. I'm part of her CD50 working group. I don't think I'm somebody that I get involved.
Can you come up to the microphone? We're having a hard time hearing.
And let me just say this as she's coming up. And she is also more consistent than many staffing because she doesn't, I hate to say, you don't go anywhere. You don't turn over, right?
No.
You don't go to the next organization.
No, I use all of them. You would? I'm retired, and I didn't know what I was going to do after I retired. And then I attended the CD15 working group, and I saw that we have a crisis. My biggest crisis was this last Thursday. I got a call. I've got a family with a 4-year-old. I turn into hyperdrive. I got to get this baby off the street. It doesn't have to be a family with a 4-year-old. It can be an individual. But we all know that they've got a story. Something has caused them to become homeless, whether it be they're insecure, they had an apartment, and they're no longer able to pay for that apartment, and a lot of what I'm seeing is the property management companies and landlords. Oh, I can get somebody else in here, and I can get more money for this unit. They don't care that they're throwing people to the streets. And it's us that need to fight. I know we don't all want a lot of apartment-looking units in our cities, but what else is the answer? We've got to do something for everybody. You know, I'm fortunate. I have a home, but not everybody's as fortunate as all of us. And we have to remember, it can happen to us too. You know, these are individuals. They have a story. And sometimes the story they tell you, there's a lot more that they aren't telling you versus what they're telling you. Some can be scared. Some can just be, I got to try something else. It didn't work the way I told you the last time. Okay? So these are individuals. These are human beings. And when I first started this, I was at City Hall because I was saying, why are you putting it in my city? I don't care that they're putting it in my city, but where they were putting it. But then I realized it's got to go somewhere. And we just have to keep continuing to work. It's a crisis, and it's going to take all of us. And like Amber said, the people that are working at the harbor interface of today, they're overworked and underpaid. You know, that's a crisis right there. They're trying to hold on to their staff. You know, but you have to Just remember, these are people. They could be your brother, your sister, a good friend. But we just have to have empathy and compassion for everybody. And remember, yes, you're going to encounter some that have a story, and it could be a mental health, it could be drugs, or it could be nothing. And some people are just afraid to tell you their story because they think you're going to judge them. She was very brave coming up here and sharing her story with you. And that's what it is to be somebody that's homeless and don't know where their next meal is coming from.
Thank you. I saw John's hand go up, and then Laura, you can be next.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for coming. This is the best thing I've ever seen come to this board right now.
Catherine's the best thing.
I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you being honest. You're telling us something that we don't know or we don't hear. You're doing a service to us. You're doing a service to the homeless people. And we need to get to the bottom of how we need to service people from the get-go to save people so they don't get too far into it, to give them the service. And what it sounds to me like, and she explained it too, there's all this money we're throwing at this, nothing's sticking. It's like we have to put the money into people like her that care, people that can go out and help people that need it. And that's not happening, but we can see some of this happening now. We need a lot more of this. I thank you so much, because this is an eye-opener for everybody. Everybody. We need to get help. We're throwing millions and millions and millions of dollars, but we need to get to the grassroots of actually going out and helping people. I just say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
John, can I respond, man?
Yeah.
I just want to say, number one, thank you for your comments. And it is working. This is the hard part. And one of the things I wish, if I had like one legacy in homelessness, as much as there are folks working on amazing housing and services, if I could do one thing, I would try to help everyone else realize that they're the glue to make it stick, right? We have service providers and we have housing, and our biggest untapped resource is all the housed people, all of you. And it's like these micro movements that need to be done, and I hate to say it, it's even kind of just believing and listening and being open. And that's the glue, actually. And I feel like that sounds really sappy, but I think it's absolutely true. And I think community meetings, I think folks like Helena that just care. None of this would have happened. None of these units, I really believe, wouldn't have happened as easily, quickly, without folks in our community saying yes and saying, can we pave the way for it even? How do we help? So I just want to say that too, that like when you get really frustrated, like channel that if you can into like learning more, doing something, calling a homeless person that's experiencing it now neighbor, something like that. I'm very big on even language. It's the little tweaks though. Yeah.
Amber and Helena and Catherine inspire me to do this work. Every month I come here and I share what's going on out there, opportunities for people to be involved. A big message I heard today is we don't have enough people working in homeless services, and I know it doesn't pay enough, and so we need to continue. Janice Hahn has been advocating big time for incentives for people to go into social services. Okay, we need to push for that. Just putting somebody in housing They won't retain it. We need more bodies. Everything they talked about today, we need more people. Okay? It isn't particularly fun doing this work, but it's so inspiring when you hear a story like Catherine's. Okay? And there's many stories like that. Unfortunately, there's many non-successful stories because people aren't getting the assistance that they need. But one thing I wanted to, maybe you could share, because in my report this month, I talk about Beacon's Landing and what a boat did and how that was built. Okay? But where did the money come from? That's what I think would be good.
HHH. It's hilarious. I feel like that. So Megan is from a boat, and she came to be with Catherine and to make sure that all of this happened comfortably for Catherine. But I almost feel funny talking because this is what you do for a living on behalf of a boat. But I mean, Beacon Landing is beautiful. It's our first Triple H funded supportive housing development in San Pedro. It's open. It's like the first thing that, 6 years ago, we're all kind of like hustling, like it's going to happen, things are going to open. And now they're opening and people are going home in them. This was an incredible building. It was also done modular. So I don't know if any of you drove by at any point it's near the 110 off-ramp on Harbor, but like literally the modular placements were put on puzzle piece one at a time, and then the lights went on. It was the coolest thing ever. I loved watching it on my way home, just come to life. But what else can I tell you about it? 89 homes in there?
Is it full?
Is it full? Yeah. I mean, I can tell, I don't know the story on Beacon Landing, but on the Link housing that's on 9th Street, the day they opened the applications, each unit was 10 applications deep in wait list.
Wow.
And on top of it, you had to go, like if you were in San Pedro, Wilmington, this area, you had to turn in your application in Redondo Beach. There was some random thing. That many people went all the way there to get these units. It's incredible. And I guess I wouldn't use that word in a good way right now, but yeah. It's okay. We had that talk like 2 years ago about the Redondo Beach application thing, which is wackadoo.
Why make them go so far to apply?
I don't make the rules, but yes, it was silly. But even with that, I mean, we also, one of the biggest things this doesn't cover, by the way, is what we have are scattered site vouchers. Right? So we have beautiful buildings like this that are new, that are lovely, that have all the supportive services there. And then we have other friends of mine that are in Section 8 housing that are scattered throughout the region. They could be your neighbor. They could be someone next to you. Some of the services come to them if they need them. But typically these are folks that just don't need as much supportive services. So that's another piece of the puzzle that doesn't get added into all the numbers when I talk about these, especially these 3 projects in San Pedro. And we have more of those. And given a lot of advocacy work, actually, those vouchers have been recalibrated for market rate value, more so at least. So they're actually a little more usable than they were a few years ago. Yeah, John.
Sure. Sorry. You know, most of, like myself, grew up in this town where there was always homeless people. We had Harbor View House on Beacon Street, and that facility was never run correctly. They needed more security. The people there were all over the place. These places need to be protected and controlled. I know the place I think the one on Gaffey on First Street is a homeless building for veterans.
Oh, the project Home Key, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I see security there. I see it very controlled. And people are able to live normally without influence all over the place. And I think that's why that Harbor View House, they took that facility, instead of doing it right, they sold it to public housing or whatever. That should have never happened. Things like that should happen. They needed the facilities there. They had the facility there, and they turned around and sold it. You know, there's other places in San Pedro. There's a big property where the courthouse used to be on 6th Street. There's a big property there that could house so many people, and they refused to do it, like you said, because of the location. It's not good for this place. It's not good for these people. It's not good for these businesses. Those facilities create jobs. And those people in those facilities that work there give to the community and spend money for this community. And people don't say, I'm a property owner myself. I'm an apartment owner myself. And I keep trying to keep the people in my building, keep it at a rate where they can afford it. And that's what we're missing. That's a big piece of the puzzle that we're missing. So get people to say, the rents are too high. I'm the first one to say that. I'm the first one to say that. I got people in my building that's been with me for 30 years because I can make sure that they live properly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's the mentality problem of this. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I can't tell you how much we appreciate all of you being here today and sharing your story, sharing the story of community. Every one of you deserve so much thanks, so much best wishes and so on. But that doesn't solve the problem. I think what I heard you say is that the closest thing that we can maybe do is in ourselves go out there and see what we can do to help and volunteer.
And Ray, even what you all do here is a lot, I have to say. Like, hosting a place where community can learn and talk and process instead of just going around in our own heads with our own experience. I mean, even that in itself, just a pat on the back, is so much, actually, right? Even just having a conversation about it where we can hear each other. So I think the neighborhood councils are not given enough credit for being kind of one of the last safe and orderly community spaces. So I say thank you for that as well, because I know it takes lots of time and effort.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
We know you've come out, and I know you all have things you got to get back to. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so much for sharing. And
Catherine's the real voice.
What can I say but keep the faith? Man, that sounds so 70s, right?
That's it.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So thank you all.
Thank you. I'm going to sneak out before he takes over. But thanks for having us. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to agenda item number 4, and that is our. I'm wondering if we might be able to. I know we have some electeds here that perhaps maybe we can give them a little time to do their reports. So, Drew, would you like to? We're just going to. I love making you crazy.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Drew.
Hey, Drew.
What a day, man.
It's Monday.
My daughter started kindergarten today. Point Furman Elementary. It's a great time.
When does she get her learner's permit?
Yeah, soon. Probably tomorrow. Then I picked her up at the bathhouse. God bless our Recreation and Parks Department did a great job of convincing me to send her to a RAP facility. So I'm glad I did. So shout out to our RAP folks too. And all right, the pickleball courts at Peck Park are officially open. How cool is that?
big thank you to the city, to the Department of Recreation Parks for getting that up and running. We had a beautiful ribbon cutting ceremony on Thursday morning, which also happened to be National Pickleball Day. And I believe that reservations are available through the Peck Park office. Is that correct?
No, we're not reserving yet.
You're not reserving yet?
No, it's just open from sunup till 9:30 or 10 when lights go off.
Okay, open from sunup till the lights go off, 9:30 or 10, and then eventually we'll open up for a reservation system.
Reservations and lessons and clinics and family days.
Reservations, clinics, lessons, family days. Wow. Got a lot of great stuff planned ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. This Saturday, August 17th, is a summer block party being hosted by the San Pedro PBID. We're going to activate 7th Street between Mesa and the Center in downtown San Pedro. There's going to be a beer and wine garden, live music, pop-up vendors, performances by old friends, jazz band, and DJ Runaway Spinning. So please head out Saturday between 4 and 9 p.m. Here's a legislative update. Recruitment, hiring, and retention of qualified law enforcement officers are crucial for maintaining a safe city. Last week, Councilmember Tim McOsker introduced a motion that was heard this last Tuesday in the Personnel Audits and Hiring Committee to explore moving parts of all of the LAPD officer hiring process from the Personnel Department. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. So they are exploring moving the parts of or all of the LAPD officer hiring process from the LA City Personnel Department to the Police Department in order to streamline and expedite recruitment. The Personnel Department currently manages the hiring process for both civilian and sworn positions in the LAPD. However, in January of 2024, the city received 1,200 applications for the Police Department, making a 2-year high. But the current hiring process is lengthy and cumbersome, risking the loss of qualified candidates to faster-moving agencies. This proposal will be heard in Council on Wednesday, and we look forward to it passing and receiving a report on its feasibility. And then I'm going to move a little bit into some localized issues. Paraiso Street, some of you may know or not know that businesses there have been struggling with the presence of RVs that are non-operable on that street. So we are having an upcoming operation to clear Paraiso Street of these broken down recreational vehicles. We have been coordinating efforts between housing and service providers and the current inhabitants of the RVs to get them the assistance that they need. If their RVs will be up and running, they'll be free to drive off, but we are not going to permit RVs to be parking overnight in that area, and we're working on introducing a motion to make it so. Regarding the Shack Man that's moving up and down Capitol, we understand that this has been frustrating for some community members and welcoming to other community members who he is helping. You are not allowed to build a shack on city streets and live in it. It's just not permissible. That being said, so long as he's in it, we can't remove it. We've been working on getting him housing. He has been matched with several opportunities. He has rejected them all. We will continue to work with him to try to get him into a placement. However, when we see that he has abandoned his shack, then we will clear it out. That's where we're at. Any questions? It's a short update tonight. Yes, Gwen.
The number of the motion that is going to be heard later this week?
I don't have it. You can email me and I can find it for you.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I've presented this a long time ago. There's a whole bunch of garbage trucks on our block on Westmont from Target. Nobody's doing a dang thing about it.
From Target on Westmont?
I'm sorry, on Home Depot.
Oh, are they the day laborers that are sitting there waiting for work?
Yes. And they're outside our community barking, hanging out, eating, urinating, whatever they want to do. I presented it to this board. We voted to pursue it, and then it died. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it died. Shouldn't have died. The problem's still there. And it's trucks that they took out of Home Depot, because they used to park in the the company kicked them out of their parking lots, so now they're all alongside of Westmont. And it needs to be fixed because it's not good for the community. You got kids walking to school.
Right.
You got all kinds of stuff. If you drive up that street every day, on the weekends also.
So that's something that we can talk to LAPD about. If they're not violating the law, then there's nothing that we could do really to kick them out. If a vehicle is abandoned or left, it's 72 hours before the Department of Transportation can go in and cite them. What I don't know is if there are laws, if they're are they idling or are their trucks off?
They're stopped.
Are the trucks on and idling?
No.
They're off.
They're off.
Okay.
They're they're loitering is what they're doing.
Right.
They're loitering. And they're yelling at the cars coming by. They need work. Hey. Mm-hmm. They're in the street. They got their chairs in the street, hanging out. They're on the walls. The neighbors are getting urinated on the walls and stuff. And there's nothing being done. It passed this board overwhelmingly. Just one person didn't vote for it. Everybody else voted for it. I recused myself because I'm close by. Okay? Nothing's ever been done.
Okay. Well, I'll get with Officer Baloney about it and see what we can do. Furthermore, there was one more thing. If you get any complaints of people in the gardens about a crack that has formed along their sidewalk, there were some people who were concerned about it. I took a team from the Bureau of Engineering out there, and they looked at it, and they pointed out that further up on the other side of Amelia, is that it? Amelia, the sidewalk panels are actually smaller. They're split in two. And so there's this natural crack that is formed along the panels that are below it because those sidewalk panels were created into one large panel and they weren't separated into smaller panels. And so the natural crack there is a settling of how it was going to be. And they said for the size of these panels, we would expect for it to crack in the place that it has. So if you look from where the panels were divided in two to where it started cracking, it's almost a straight line down. That being said, even though BOE does not believe that there are any issues beyond just the natural settling, for the peace of mind of the owners, sanitation is going to do CCTV into the sewer lines that are underneath that to make sure that they have integrity and that there are no cracks or anything falling down there. So as soon as I have a report, it should be available by the next neighborhood council meeting.
Gwen?
Well, actually, this is a thank you, a long time coming. So, Bandini between First Street and going over to Summerlin, there was the whole repaving of that, and you did announce it, and I just want you to know, thank you so much because that was just the bane of the street, and it's nice. They do need to put the lines on.
I know. I keep telling them, I'm like, guys, you're not done yet.
So grateful. Yeah. You have no idea. There's businesses there that really need that. And then also, you acted very quickly on, I believe it's Walker Street, a mountain this big in the it's a residential street. And it's just you guys took care of that.
That was really difficult, and that was actually the end of them doing us favors, and now we have issues in other parts of the...
That one, that particular area continues to have this weird... Yeah.
It's the trash trucks. It's the trash trucks that are doing this.
Does it... It's regular on that spot.
The trash trucks are causing this eruption throughout the town.
Really?
In alleys. It's a really big challenge because now that we're into our new fiscal year and we have less of a budget than we did before, it's really hard to get our folks from Public Works out in a timely manner. So a lot of these things are being put on an active backlog. I mean, they're on a log, but I no longer am able to give a point of reference for how long it's going to take for these types of things to exist. I raised the issue to council member because I said, coming up, you're going to have all electric sanitation trucks, and those are significantly heavier. So we have to look at the integrity of our streets and the loads that they can bear if we're going to be putting even heavier sanitation trucks. So something that we are also looking at for the future.
Will those electric trucks be parked up on at the site up here?
I don't know. There's still like years out, but it's still something that we need to think about going forward.
And then one more. Oh, well, I'll answer it. Okay.
Drew, I've had a community member come to me multiple times talking about the community gardens. Is there a shift in who's going to oversee them?
I don't know. I know that the Los Angeles Garden Council had been paying for a contractor who came in, Urbano Strategies. His name was Jesse. He worked to oversee the gardens and some other ones, and they didn't have the money to continue paying him, so they ended his contract. I don't know who has taken over, or if they're really trying to have it be kind of the garden for the garden. I know that our district director is working with them on some things, and we're also working on a legislative level to make some changes in the garden, like, for example, to allow sales, like people to be able to sell produce from their garden in a limited way. We're looking at bringing in other resources in order to create this community garden as a prototype for partnerships and the way that they work within the community. But that's just entering the legislative phase, so it's still a ways away. But I know that we are working on trying to help uplift the community garden, but I don't know what their plans are, or who's taken over that kind of responsibility.
I can give a little update. So Omar Brownstein is the new executive director at the LA Community Garden Council, and the contractor is still somewhat involved at this moment before being completely phased out. And there was a meeting, actually, with the Department of Public Works regarding one of the most egregious problems, and that was water pressure. And so there have been two really great updates. One of them, there's been a lot of aggressive work in making sure that there's a water pressure problem because water is going uphill, and if you know physics and stuff like that, it doesn't like to go uphill. So the people uphill don't have water pressure. But people down at the bottom of the hill were watering at a time that they weren't supposed to, so that the people up above could have their days. That has been aggressively addressed, and the people at the top of the hill now have great water flow. The other thing is that with the LADW, with the Department of Water coming in, there's actually an idea to create irrigation there. And so there's funding sources that LA Community Garden Council is working on, and so it's a matter of getting grants for the water. So some of these things are going on, but it takes a little time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
That it?
Is there? Oh, I'm sorry.
Real quick, Drew. I need you to fix my misconception. Do you know offhand what the sort of basic doctrine is about maintenance of alleys? Because somewhere in the past I got stuck in my head that the city had kind of disavowed any responsibility for that, but apparently not entirely. But.
We used to get one alley per community per year. So they would say, hey, San Pedro, pick your worst alley. I could tell you right now where that worst alley is because I got stuck in it with my car and I almost scraped the bottom of my car off. Yeah. And this year we lost our funding. So we don't even get one alley. We get no alley repairs this whole next fiscal year. And I am trying so hard to figure out creatively how to make it happen anyway. And I'm begging, and I'm like, well, can we get a contractor? Can we just kind of find it? They're like, well, first the city has to not be able to fix it. And so, but that being said, there are these big eruptions that have happened in some alleys. And in those cases, the Athens or sanitation will send a request and say, we can't pick up trash. Oh, okay. You need to fix this. And in those instances, they will go in and fix it because they need to maintain ability for the city to provide basic services.
Yeah, I was just thinking because in my neighborhood between Patton and Walker, there's a couple that I'm sure, or at least I hope, that the garbage trucks are the heaviest thing currently going through there. But it looks like something.
There's one between 15th and 16th behind Patton. So it's like just on the other side of Patton between 15th and 16th. It looked like some sort of velociraptor decided to like have a bunch of babies on them or something.
Yeah, it's a
crazy.
weird one that goes down the hill, quite, I guess, all the way from 6th or 5th. But yeah, I'm assuming that the garbage trucks are probably primarily responsible for like that. If you look at it on a weekly basis, that would seem to be the biggest vehicle that's tearing it up. And of course, in the future, if they're bigger, I don't know, but it's like if it's not literally off the table now, then certainly, hopefully, before they replace the trucks, we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's not lost on the council member that we're creating these problems and that we have to fix them. So.
Okay, thanks.
One last
Question for you, Drew. Are you allowed as like CD15? I know that the city sometimes does deep dives into grants, but as CD15 on its own, are you allowed to do like a deep dive in some of the grants to see if there's some, because I know there's like some clean street type things that are government grants and things like that. Is there any possibility of deep diving into a grant to see if we can get that to do our alleys or our sidewalks?
Has to be. I've looked into it, like privately I've looked into it, because I'm like, well, maybe we can like find some money somewhere. The short answer is no.
Okay.
It has to be the city of LA, or it can be another organization, like a nonprofit that specifically does transportation related work. And there's also some other requirements that they do, like workforce development and some other things. And so they have all sorts of, I mean, there's some things that may be available through the state and federal government, but not to CD15 as a district.
When I did the budget advocate report for the workforce development, I met with the head of that, the general manager and stuff, and one of the ways that they were supplementing their funds, because their general fund was so small, was they would save their general fund and they had a person designated to deep dive into the government funding,
it's a little bit different
the grants, and they pulled grants to supplement.
It's a little bit different with the transportation related stuff I've looked into. Yeah. But I'm going to keep trying. I'm not going to
because I'm very much about taking a slim budget and finding ways to make it stretch and finding ways to get free money.
Hey, if you can find grants, send them my way. If you can find them, I'm continuing to look for them. I'm looking for grants for sidewalks. I'm looking for ways to see if some of our partner organizations can like apply for some of these grants. We unfortunately just missed the July cutoff of this year, so we have to wait until next year to apply again. But I'm trying to think outside the box to make it happen, because like we
I'll go deep dive and see if I can find something.
Thank you. Yeah, the city is really facing a budget crisis.
Okay.
We've been able to preserve people's positions and not lay anybody off, but it does also mean that we have less money to go around.
Okay, cool.
All right, Drew, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. How much is it worth to him? Senior Lead Officer Maloney, would you like to help me? I have no idea.
How's the baby? Oh, very good, very good. They're little precious and smiling back and stuff like that, so a little communication. But very healthy, very good.
You look like you've been getting some sleep now.
The wife is doing a very good job. She's pulling weight. I'm very blessed. But hello, everybody. Senior Lead Officer Valoni for the Northwest San Pedro area. Just to go over the numbers real quickly. So we had a 100% decrease in rapes. So this is comparing July of 2024 to June of 24. So let me backtrack. Again, with our new system, we're still having we now have a basis point to kind of go off of. So this is, again, comparing June of 2024 to July of 2024. So we went from 1 rape to 0 rape, so 100% decrease. Robberies, we had an increase of 150%, but it is a 2 to 5 occurrence. And for aggravated assaults, it was 9 to 11, so a 22% increase. Total violent crime, though, went from 12 of June to 16 in July, which is a 33% increase. Obviously, this is the property crimes we're actually doing kind of good at for the burglaries. We had a 42% decrease, so from 7 to 4. GTAs, we went from 15 to 13, so 13%. And the burglary theft from motor vehicles rose 37%, so from 8 to 11, and the theft stayed even at 15. So total property crimes, we had a 45 to 43, so a 2 incident decrease. So that's that for the crime stats. And then to kind of break it down as to what occurred. So the robberies, the 5, 1 was a business, 1 was a family related, and 3 of the robberies were related to vehicles. So like an attempted carjacking, a person in a vehicle, and then 1 was someone trying to steal items from the vehicle, and then the person ended up confronting the person or the suspect and it turned into a robbery. And then the other one I want to discuss, the burglaries, it was 2 non-residential. So like, let's say your businesses that may be closed overnight, and then there were 2 residential burglaries. The burglary theft for motor vehicles, so that was a 37% increase. But again, I think I brought it up last time, or maybe it was during the CPAD, but half of those were actually unlocked and unsecured vehicles. So we got to make sure we secure and take out anything valuable, because they took cell phones and computer stuff, electronics. So those are just easily identifiable items that people are going to probably just easy pickings. I get videos sent to me all the time of people coming by and just door checking all day long. And the thing is that's all they're looking for. They're there for 5 seconds. They check the door, then they leave. So the best thing I could honestly say is do your best to lock and secure your vehicle, because that's literally half of our theft for motor vehicles. So Drew slightly touched up on it, and obviously we had the presentation from earlier that we're thankful for. So we do have the gentleman on the shack that's living on Capitol. I've been out there many times. We have people coming into the station. We have people emailing the captain and stuff. We're just in that predicament as to the best way to serve this individual. So I've been working heavily with like outreach teams. I'm even going to bring in a different nonprofit in tomorrow to see what we could do to help them. I talked to him, like maybe Long Beach, or maybe, if it's a geographical challenge, what can we do to assist you? So I'm going to work with somebody tomorrow to kind of see what I could do to bring that person there. He was moving up and down Capitol. Unfortunately today I did cite him for the 4118 violation, because obviously I had to do my job, but that's only due to the fact that he was offered that shelter today. And the thing is I do have to do something, but I just want to say that the crisis is just so big, and it's very difficult, because I do my due diligence on these individuals, based on like running the backgrounds and all that good stuff, seeing what else avenues are available to remedy the issue. At this time, there really is nothing. There's no one coming forward and alleging that there's criminal activity occurring. I'm on a first name basis with this guy. I try to build a relationship. That's my goal usually when I make these interactions with people, and I find that enforcement, although like it's an option, I find that actually just working with the individual and trying to get as much outreach and help possible with the resources that we do have, I do find it to be more beneficial, so I prefer to do that route. And at the end of the day, I just like to say it as like, so say I cited him for this 4118 violation, that's all I have. It's just a citation. It probably won't even go anywhere, to be honest with you. That's just because the city attorney's office, just the way they look at these, it's up to them on how they want to do it, but just based on prior history, it's not effective. So I prefer the outreach way to assist. And in regards to the removal of the property, that's not, I can't really speak on it too much. It's just more so trying to get the city entities that are, there's just so much red tape. And with lawsuits, we've actually had a meeting a few weeks ago in regards to like a refresher course, if you will, as to the removal of property and stuff. So, it's a very fine line, and at the end of the day, there's a correct protocol that needs to be followed. And I'm going to get with Kamon that works with the councilman's office, and I'm going to discuss a little bit better of what their protocol is to see like, what are the remedies here, because, we have to have some solution at the end of the day too, for everybody involved, the community and this individual. So, trust me that I swear I'm going out there. Like one day I went out there 3 to 4 times, and today I was able to find him. He was riding his bike, and thankfully he came to me when I was waiting by the shack and stuff. So it's still a good relationship. I still offered him food and a drink, and I cooled it. It's hot out, so I still try to be polite and stuff. In regards to Westmont, I will look into that. I do see those individuals there, and usually when I drive by, they kind of duck right back into the sidewalk and stuff, so it's a little difficult. But I'm going to get some extra patrols there, and if you know anybody else that's complaining about that issue, excuse me, my best advice also is just make sure they're calling the non-emergency line so there's documentation and that it could be addressed. Obviously, I'll do my best to provide the extra patrol when I can and all that good stuff. So I will assist there. And that's all I have right now. The CPAB, I think, is August 22nd, 6 p.m. at Harbor Station. It's going to be the last Thursday, or second to last Thursday. I have to look at my calendar. But I think it's August 22nd at the Harbor Station. It's a good event just to also know what the LAPD is doing in their respective areas and stuff like that. And Drew comes to those meetings as well. So it's another good place to ask questions. So are there any questions?
All right. So, Melanie.
No real question. I just want to thank you. I mean, you're amazing, and you really are community oriented and always have our best interest at heart. And just thank you for your work. As I told you when I contact you about the little plank condo, when I deliver information, it's only for me non-biased to deliver whatever anybody says to me and what I am getting, like from the business owner that it's in front of right now, as well as, just other community members. And you've been really good to try and address everything and help me balance going.
Oh, no, you're doing a good job with the rest of the community members because there's a lot of people that came into Harbor Station and were very upset about that.
But I appreciate you, and I know the rest of the community does too.
Good. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? John?
I got to tell you, that guy's very creative.
He has wheels.
Yeah. I mean, he's very good. That's the most creative homeless guy I've ever seen in my life. And he doesn't hurt anybody. He doesn't do anything. But this board here provided them with open toilets for people to be able to do that. That's why that guy is there. They have open toilets that they didn't need to have, but this board voted for it. That's what we got. And we got it's going to be an existing problem as long as those toilets are open to people in that area. They put a toilet in a residential area, and that's a problem. It's going to create a problem. It's going to always create a problem. The only other thing I have to say is that is it seasonal on crime, like people going into houses and stuff now due that it's summertime and kids are home and maybe not as many burglaries at this time, or is there a certain time?
Based on my experience and education and all that good stuff, the summertime, the heat, the kids are not at school, so crime will increase, and it happens every single year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, I can't, it's always so hard to pinpoint anything directly as a correlation, but in my experience, the summertime, usually things pick up a little bit. But I'll be honest, this summer, in terms of like violent crime too in the area, it's a lot better than what it has been in previous years. So we're thankful for that.
Gwen.
I just want to thank you. I have a whole set of emails. Everybody, you can join in on this, but on top of the CPAB meeting, Officer Vallone also does a wonderful email summary of crime in the area, and it's available to anyone who wants to get on that email group. So
I was told to shorten those emails.
Oh, that's too bad. They were awesome. I like them.
I had these really long emails, and they're too long. Okay, I'm sorry. Because then the pertinent information wasn't getting out. And I was like, okay, we got it.
Well, but, get on his email list. If you can't make a CPAB meeting,
I do like a monthly newsletter. It's kind of like this, but a little bit more. It's good.
Awesome.
Chris.
Hi. In reference to the citation that you wrote, I was just curious as to, is this is the result of the governor's ruling on the change in the law?
So I can only technically speak on the LAPD side, but just the thing is obviously our city leadership came out after the governor made the statements of removal of et cetera and stuff like that. But the 4118 ticket that I issued today was already implemented, like that was already in place.
Okay.
So we do have this, briefly, the 4118 LAMC code is basically like there's certain areas like daycare parks, et cetera, that require, like it's a sensitive area.
Gotcha.
And his shack is in a violation of the LAMC, like subsection B, and he just can't be in the roadway with that.
Okay, and then you mentioned that the city attorney's office is sort of not super interested in pursuing those. Has there been any conversation or direction at Harbor or wherever else you have access to in terms of has anything changed for you operationally recently?
No, so we have not. So we obviously, the city attorneys will go through all the possibilities of everything, and then they issue orders or whatever that each department will, or a policy, excuse me, and then the department will create orders and protocols based on that. But as of right now, there's no change in anything. So
thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing no hands. Anyone? Questions from the audience? No hands. Thank you so much for all the work that you do, and I say this sincerely.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Everybody, have a good night.
Take care.
Give the baby lots of
And last but not least, Octaviano Rios from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment.
Good evening, everybody. All right, so I've shortened my updates to 3 major ones instead of 10. How's that sound? I'll email you the rest with a very lengthy email. So the first one will be the election information. So I don't remember sharing this at the June meeting that I was at. I was off for a few weeks in July. That's why you didn't see me. But I wanted to highlight that City Clerk's Office did send not just us, but the Neighborhood Council, some election information, including Region 12. So your election day will now be Tuesday, March 25th of next year. And it will be vote by mail only. So FYI on that. So more information to come in terms of the details. I don't know who your election administrator is. Well, at least I didn't get the email, and I have been getting emails and carbon copied by them. So if you have that information, please share it. And tomorrow we have a staff meeting, so I'll revisit that request tomorrow and share that with you all. And that will be the main person you'll be working with on the logistics, some of the tailoring for your neighborhood council for election day, as well as any other questions that may come up related to your elections. This mic sounds very different today. I don't know if it's just me, so I'm kind of thrown off. Melanie, you had a question about the election? No.
So our elections are only by mail, no in person?
No in person.
Okay.
They were last year. Can we let them finish this?
And sorry, I'm the one that broke that news. It's been around for a few months, but it's hard to get to you all sometimes. So yeah.
You can finish.
Okay.
But you only have 2 more, right?
We have a very important survey that went out, I think, about 2 months ago, titled the 2024 Neighborhood Council Perceptions and Insights Survey. So we're looking for all of our board members to fill out a survey, sharing their insights, concerns, recommendations, suggestions, etc., about the departments and its services and programs. So if you didn't get the link, of course, I'll email it to you. And I'm not sure if that offer is still out there for neighborhood councils with 100% participation may receive some type of a gift. I don't know what it is, but I want to put that incentive out there for the whole board to participate in the Neighborhood Council Perceptions and Insights Survey. And last but not least, there is a very important council file that got introduced late July. It's Council File 24-0867, Neighborhood Council Bylaws / Youth Participation, Diversity, Increase, Leadership Growth introduced by Councilwoman Rodriguez. And the quick highlights on this is my last point. Is the motion is requesting that the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, with the assistance of the department, the Youth Development Department, and the City Clerk's Office, to provide recommendations on potential methods and options to amend the NC bylaws to ensure youth participation, including the designation of a youth seat, which you all have. And two, the motion is also requesting the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, with the assistance of the department, the City Attorney's Office, to report to City Council on potential options to amend the bylaws of all neighborhood councils to include term limits for neighborhood council board members to facilitate greater member participation and leadership development. So two major points. One, obviously, you've checked that box off. The last one, I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit of feedback from our neighborhood councils. Okay,
Well,
that's it.
Can you give that number again? 24-0 what?
0867.
0867.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, that's an important council file, and I think there's a lot of people who have feelings about that. And so I think that it should be taken up by one of our committees to really take a deep dive and come up with, well, the how this neighborhood council is going to support.
Perhaps election and bylaws?
Suggest. I'm sorry?
Perhaps election and bylaws? Why not?
It doesn't matter.
Youth and outreach?
I mean, this is something that everyone has a feeling about. So,
Can budget and finance and issues take it up together?
you know what? I would let you all talk about it, and then we can come back and put.
We can draft it up for
Yes.
budget and finance and then send it to issues.
Yes. So whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, but.
Do it as public issue.
So, the other thing too, if I can, I believe the last time we had elections, we were among the first, and it sounds like we're among the first again.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's very difficult to have the elections early on. I thought they were going to kind of rotate that.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Because we had them early last
I thought it was going to rotate. Whoever was first wouldn't be first the next time, etc.
Try to quickly look.
Because it's hard when you have them in March and then you don't seat anybody until June, July.
If it's being done by mail, then why can't they be done at the same time?
You are, you're number 2, second region. So the first one is Region 11, March.
And that's the way it
18th.
was last time, too.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And Chris just made a good point, too, that if it is going to be done by mail, why have staggered voting?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
If it's all voting by mail, then
There's
what
no
does it
human
matter?
beings. There's no human beings being sent to
the polls
location and observers and the rest of it.
I'm not sure. I know in one of the years when they did those drop boxes to drop off your ballots.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was a limited resource or not, where they had to move them around.
That makes sense.
I don't remember. But we did work with the county at that time. I don't know if we're working with the county this time.
Are we going to have added resources for Canva and election promotional material, things for Facebook and Instagram and things like that? Will that be provided to us still?
We are in talks internally with the department about the Canva account and developing some tailored outreach material. And we do have staff now that is doing some outreach. And that's going to transition to just working on election activities. So how that looks like and what their capacity is and what we're going to be producing as deliverables to neighborhood councils, I'm not sure yet, but we'll keep you all posted.
Can I make a suggestion regarding youth? Sorry. I can come back to you.
Yeah, let Chris go ahead.
Yeah, Chris.
I apologize because I probably need to go back and scour through emails. If this, the vote by mail thing was announced a while ago, then I probably just missed it. However, I had some questions/issues from the COVID era election that I had never had adequately addressed or resolved in terms of the sort of the nature and the basic structure of the election itself. That is, compared to any other, like, do we have a real election relative to what happens in the city or the county or the, in terms of the legality, who's in charge of it, and the rules under which an election runs? Because, for example, there is exceptions and practices for our, I forget the year, but the COVID election that I'd never seen in any public election before or since. And I'm wondering if we are now going away from the voting in person, like the standard kind of polling place with all its rules. Is there a set of rules? Is there a guidebook that essentially we can refer to? Because there are things that happened that, quite honestly, I didn't think were legal to do with our previous vote by mail campaign, and I just want to make sure that everything that happens, at least under this roof, is by the book, and therefore, we got to refer to that because.
So me mentioning that it's been floating around for a while is not a judgment on you all. It's just one of those things, what we're pushing as a department, or me, myself. But the election division will be going out to share details. I'm not sure if they're going to be here in person. I know that's what they've typically done and made their rounds to each neighborhood council. But to answer your question, Chris, there is an election handbook, the 2025 election handbook, that hopefully reflects a lot of those concerns that were shared with the city clerk's office elections division staff. And if it isn't reflected there, and it was a big one, I would encourage you to make that known right now.
Look,
you know what I mean? And they're really good. I really enjoy working with them, and they're really responsive to us, to what I've seen with neighborhood councils and the feedback. So it's just making them aware of the concerns.
Sure. And is that handbook available now?
It's online. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's also, I'll share the email or the link via email. And there's three major components right now that are available: the election schedule for the region, the election timeline, and the election handbook. That's what's available right now.
Thank you.
Well, I did want to piggyback on to what Chris said. So Council File 240867 is trying to address getting the community engaged, get them excited, involved, get the youth involved. I see that this election has the potential for being quieter, less involved, less engaged. And so therefore, I hope that that there is some activity to elevate and engage, and if it is going to be, done in cycles, that maybe what's replacing the election and the people coming out to an area would be something like a town hall with a meet the candidates and a real event, that maybe there is that engagement from Empower LA or the elections group. So
yeah. I want to piggyback on what Chris said. There were some things that happened during the COVID era that were really out of line that happened. And that needs to not happen again this go around, because it really was ethically not okay, some of the stuff that happened. Also, maybe I'm late to the party here, but I was caught off guard when you said our election was all online, because we aren't in COVID anymore. This is endemic. It's not
by mail. It's vote by mail.
And so
by mail.
Why are we doing COVID protocol and not having real-time elections? They're doing real-time elections for the presidential election, and every other city council thing is in real time. So why all of a sudden neighborhood council is online? It's as if
it's not online.
It's, by mail. Not online, but by mail. I mean, it's just like taking the in-person stuff away, and it kind of almost diminishes our role by making it by mail of what, and they're trying to, on the other hand, I've read articles where they're trying to make neighborhood councils more acknowledged in city departments and things like that, and through budget advocacy, there's like files that we're doing to try and get neighborhood councils more recognized within the city departments, but yet we aren't recognized in the same election process in the same way. We're just kind of like diminished with, just mail your votes in. Mm-hmm. And then what? Like last time, this one can't count because they didn't fill it out correctly, and this one can't count because this wasn't done correctly, and this one doesn't count because this wasn't done correctly. So you have all these ballots over here that weren't counted
or didn't get mailed in
or something.
Right.
The mail held up some of them too. Remember?
I think I saw John's hand, John DeMeglio, and then John B.
A whole bunch of people are crying because this system is rigged right now, and we're trying to straighten it out. Then nothing happened with COVID. The elections were done fairly. The applications that weren't done properly were gone over. They're just pissed off because certain people lost fairly. And what you got here now is a bunch of people that were voted off crying. They put them back on. They vote them back in to a different way. This whole thing needs to be straightened out. And you're doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with mail-in ballots. I see no problem. Everybody thought I was cheating on my ballots. And what? What did you say? Yeah, you said I was cheating. I wasn't cheating.
John,
order.
Can we do that?
Order.
Please.
You can't speak like that.
Order.
John.
Mr. DeMeglio.
John, you got the mic.
You heard that? I heard that too. You can't do that to me.
John.
Mr. DeMeglio, yes, she can.
Problem. This is the problem.
But you're
okay, wait a minute. I'm talking to him.
Mr. DeMeglio, you are out of order.
Sir?
You are out of order.
Can I speak to him?
John, you got the mic.
Can I speak to this man? Do you guys want to? What do you guys want to do?
So please make your point.
Okay.
Because we have other people.
This is the problem. People hate it because you're trying to do things correctly. Term limits, way overdue. There's people that sit on this board and don't do a goddamn thing. They just sit there and they sit there and they sit there because the group votes them in there. There's a big problem here.
Okay.
I beat the problem.
I mean,
you want to stop me? Can I talk still? This is the problem. They want to hush it all up. They want to create their own mess. They want to create their own so they can recruit people to be on this board, people that they want to be on this board. That's what's happening. My name is on there because they want to take me off a committee that I've done more to that committee than anybody else sitting on that committee at this point right now. I fought the issues committee before I was even on the board.
Okay.
Because it's corrupt.
Okay, we're going to stop. We're going to
Shut
stop
me up.
that because
Shut me up.
that is not the agenda item we're talking about. We're going to move
this
on
whole
to
thing
John
is the
B.
problem. It's all the problem. Yeah, cut my mic. Cut my mic. That's what they want. They did that in the beginning. Remember, Octaviano? Cut my mic.
This is a public meeting that operates under the rules of the state of California, and you are in violation of those rules.
We asked for questions. I'm asking.
No, we didn't ask for an open-ended diatribe on your part.
So,
Please
John,
cut his microphone.
Respectfully, it's a big issue. It's a big topic, this council file, and I'm introducing it today, so I would highly recommend placing it on the agenda for a more depth discussion and orderly discussion. Because right now it was just an announcement from me, and I knew there was going to be a reaction. I didn't know it was going to be this passionate, but it's an indication that it should most likely end up on your agenda sooner than later if you want to take that suggestion.
John Barbera, please.
No, I was just going to say that if you remember a couple of years back, we did have
the elections in here because you were at the table with them.
Right.
And it did produce a lot of people,
Right.
you know. And I was working with, I forgot the girl's name, who helped out, what I would be in contact with. The community, and not everybody's going to know that in the community to do the, mailing. And it's going to be, that means we'd have to put maybe another newsletter out there to let everybody know that there's going to be just a mail-in only. So having it here at the auditorium a few years back, it worked out really good. Yeah, we had a couple of issues with somebody that was just, always causing, the one guy that wanted to get in. But for the most part, it's people come to the ballots. They'll come down and put their votes in, even if it's 50, 60 people, So.
Okay. Any other? Thomas?
Yeah, thank you. And I wanted to speak in favor of anything we can do to increase engagement. I don't think going to only mail does get engagement. I notice the attendance isn't, very high today. I'd like to see it much higher, and I see at committee meetings, at least the one that I'm chairing with Board and Sustainability, attendance has dropped off. So there are advantages and disadvantages. So definitely am more concerned about an only mail-in ballot. But the other issue I wanted to touch on was representation of youth. We've had one of the longest standing youth seats, and the city has the LA City Youth Council, but they don't seem to work together, right? I would have thought that our youth member might have been consulted in that. I think she actually applied and didn't make it, and I noticed it's not geographically. It's a mixture of colleges, and when you look at the high schools, it tends to be a lot of private schools, looking at the roster there. So would support every neighborhood council having that, and then whoever is in charge of if you work with that group, the LA City Youth Council group, it might be in a different department, youth development. I really think they're missing an opportunity to not engage with the already appointed or elected youth members serving this capacity. So I wanted to pass that on to you.
All right, thank you.
Oh, good idea.
Any other comments, questions?
One more comment that I forgot to share. That makes it a fourth announcement, I guess. The department is, I believe we sent out an announcement, or we will, and I'll reshare it, but there might be a proposal for neighborhood councils to be able to change their bylaws from documentation to self-affirmation to reduce that stress in participating as a voter. Self-affirmation is essentially letting the election administrators and the workers there know that you are a stakeholder within the neighborhood council to participate as a voter in those elections, rather than showing your ID or your bill, et cetera, which can be a sensitive thing for a lot of folks, personally identifying information that people don't want out there, right? So I'll get you more information on that with more details. I wasn't prepared, but this topic of elections obviously ties into this particular issue and potential opportunity to change your bylaws. And we would do that for you if you choose to go from documentation to self-affirmation for your stakeholders.
Okay, I think that comes to the end of the issue. Thank you very much, Octaviano. Appreciate you being here. All right, that brings us to the end of agenda item number 5. We're going to go back up to agenda item number 4, and that is a liaison report for homelessness.
Thank you, guys. And you asked a lot of really good questions to Drew and to Amber that I was already going to address in my report. So hopefully this will add some clarity. On the report, I've added, when it says how to report situations regarding people in need, I've added the information for the Circle team in there because we're very fortunate to have that pilot program cover the harbor area, and they're a 24/7 assistance. So I've noted that. The CD15 working group that Amber talked about is now starting to meet up again. They're going to meet up in person quarterly. And the next meeting is on September 4th. It'll be at her offices at Chic Impact. And on this report, if you'd like to get on the email distribution, and thank you, Thomas, for attending the more recent meeting, this is a place where you can get involved and find out how you could get involved by coming to that, because I heard a lot of interest in possibly volunteering or learning more about what the working group's doing. So that's an opportunity. The agenda for their September 4th meeting, so you know what they're covering, is a lot of it's going to be the issues about the grants passed Supreme Court ruling. They're going to talk about the executive order from Gavin Newsom. They're going to have speakers from LASA and from CD15. They're also going to have speakers from the Sheriff's Office and LAPD to talk about the Care First model, a lot with our wonderful Officer Vallone just shared about. They're going to have a presentation on outreach engagement from Ronson Chu and Shannon Murray from the South Bay Cities Council of Government. And Amber will be giving us more continuous updates on funding distributions. They're also planning to have a town hall meeting sometime in the next month or so to talk about the important county Measure A that's coming up, where they're going to actually, it's a revision of Measure H, where they're going to actually ask for another 1/4 cent increase in sales tax. And so you really need to hear that presentation. They're actually, Michael, I think they're going to reach out to you to have Hannah Vance reached out to you for the town hall to be here. So that's something you want to look at. My report this month really only covered 2 topics. One was Beacon's Landing, which you heard about today. And if you look at page 4 in your packet, you can see a couple of pictures there. When they say modular units, if none of you saw this, these were, to me, they look like giant Legos. These were apartments made in a warehouse, brought in on a crane, dropped in, and then later on they do whatever they do, stucco around it. And if you drive by the one on Beacon, and of course you can see the new one on Western, that went up really fast on Western right before PCH, right over there. The beauty of the modular housing is it can go up much faster, less expensive. I was hoping Amber would explain what the costs were, because I don't really have that information. But I put as much as I could from the Abode website, and I have a link there so that you could learn more. This is really a new type of housing. And those units happen to all be permanent supportive housing. Let's see. And then the second issue I covered on here was the updates on the Supreme Court ruling, and some of you asked Officer Vallone about that. 4118 is in place. If you look at the last paragraph of my report, I am suggesting that the board tonight consider a community impact statement on City Council Motion 24-0140-S1. And basically that motion is just asking the City Council to have them expedite analyzing how this Supreme Court ruling could be affecting how we're addressing homelessness. Without trying to get too political, we know Governor Newsom has put down a very strong directive. He's been filmed doing cleanups. There's really no plan right now. They're saying clean up these encampments. Enough is enough already. However, they don't tell us where they're going to move people to and what the plan is. The mayor of LA is came back today. And so I'm sure she's going to be having meetings, because the governor is saying he will start fining cities if they don't do these cleanups. Again, I don't even know what a cleanup is defined as. So I think going to the CD15 meeting, if you're interested, could maybe you could ask questions that you might have. Keep reading the newspapers, because trying to keep up with this, it's a daily thing trying to read this. And on July 30th, the Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to reaffirm the Care First approach, ensuring that county jails will not be used to detain homeless individuals arrested under anti-camping ordinances. It's a lot to unpack. It's a really big issue, and there's no good answers here. And I also got an email from Empower LA on this topic that they want all homelessness liaisons, that they're going to review how these recent developments will affect the work that we're conducting and what strategies there are in addressing homelessness. And they're saying the changes could have significant implications for our policies and our practices. So I took some notes of other things that have come up since I did this report, but I'm going to avoid those. And right now, just ask Ray, can we, is this the time to vote on this support of the city council motion? This didn't come out of committee because I'm not a committee. so I brought it to the executive committee.
It's going to have to come out of.
Well, I brought it to executive committee so that you could do that. And I have a copy of the city council motion. If you need to see it, it's only a few paragraphs. It's very simple. It's basically just saying speed up the process and analyze.
It never made it on the agenda.
It never made it on the agenda.
Vic, what happened? I presented it to you guys to put on the agenda. Well, okay. The other neighborhood councils will look at it. It's not a big deal. I just want to show support to the city council that we understand the importance that they need to analyze how 4118 and other municipal codes are going to be affected. So
do you know when it's going to be heard?
No, I don't. So what is the process as the homelessness liaison to get a motion on the agenda?
Well, I mean, you did it. It was just oversight.
Okay, stuff happens. Okay.
So we'll if we have another month, then we'll make sure we get it. But
all right, I'll see if they have it calendared yet. Maybe Tim's office can tell me.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So, and I really appreciate you guys being so courteous to this gal who came and spoke today. And I'm not quite sure, every month I come and I speak about homelessness. This is not the first time we've heard any of this. I tell you all the time that people are dying out there, that this is a humanitarian issue. And I wanted you guys to hear it from somebody other than me, and hearing it from the LAHSA commissioner, hearing it from somebody with lived experience. I don't know how else to pass on this message of how important this issue is.
Lori, I just want to say that the information you pass along to us does not land on deaf ears. I mean, there are many people here who really take it to heart and listen. I think, if I can say this, your leadership in this has been very well recognized by what you were able to accomplish earlier in the week with this one individual who was experiencing or continues to experience homelessness. I just want to make sure that people understand Lori was able to navigate questions that opened up possibly a whole new level of resources for this individual that perhaps may not have been considered when she was approached for homelessness resources. So I really want to give you a lot of credit for doing that, and you're in the community, so thank you for that.
You know, Ray, I appreciate that. I hope that more people will want to get involved. It's really not particularly fun, but when you hear a success story like this, it's heartwarming. And Amber really went over the numbers with you guys that even though when you go to look at Measure A and how much we're paying for services and taxes, that if we didn't have the funding that we did, the problem would be a lot worse.
Yeah.
And she said for every 100 people getting housed, 100 and what? She said like 120 become unhoused. So it's horrible.
Question?
First of all, I want to thank you, too, because I went to you for a friend's friend who had issues, and you opened me up to a whole different way of supporting them, being able to go in their cars to stay in parking lots and stuff that I had no idea about. And I have since given that to a couple different people who have experienced things. So I appreciate that. I have a question, and you may not know the answer to, but what I have seen, there's a homeless encampment close to my sister's house, and they had a huge fire. And so half of the stuff that was on fire, I don't know who took some of it out or if they took ash out, but I can see if it was people the people that are camping there, that's a whole different thing. But this is fire, stuff that's been on fire. It's ash and trash, and no one's utilizing it or making anything out of it. Where do we find things for that kind of cleanup? Because that's what, when I listened to Newsom talk about some of the cleanups, that's what he was talking about, was the leftover stuff. I mean, it's pollution to the air. It's it's close
Pollution to the ground.
The refineries. So who do we call for that kind of cleanup?
Well, first, where is this that you're referring to?
It's on Lomita Boulevard.
Oh, you're talking about Lomita McCoy? Lomita in Vermont?
Yeah, between
Oh,
and
Campman's been there for about.
That's
be over.
They clean it out, and then it comes back.
Right. But no, I understand what you're saying. So part of what Governor Newsom is talking about is cleaning that up. I know a lot of people that have worked very closely with Caltrans and sanitation in doing cleanups inside safe. Is something that they've been focusing first on the RV encampments where there's just piles of trash over your head. Okay, and they'll clean it out, and in 2 weeks it's back again. I don't know how to stop that from continuing to happen except to get people out of those RVs. It's puzzling why Officer Vallone was saying that this man refused. I don't know why he refused or what he was offered. There's always going to be a percentage of people like that. But when it comes to not only the sanitation, you get rats, you get feces and urine going into our water system. And that's something that I've been trying to bring to their attention. It affects all of us. I don't really have an answer, Kelly, but I will bring that to people I talk to and ask.
I have one more question. Who do you call when I've actually seen them open the fire hydrants and take water out?
They've actually been stealing the fire hydrants now.
What's that mean?
They're stealing fire hydrants. Harbor Gateway had about over 20 of them. I didn't even know you could steal a fire hydrant. They know how to they know how to turn the water off. I don't know what you do with a fire hydrant. They'll steal anything. The copper wire. They connect to the electrical system. Imagine if these people actually use those resources for something good. They're very resourceful out there, but I don't know how or why they're stealing fire hydrants. I can't put any rhyme or reason to it, Kelly.
It's the metal that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Oh, metal. Okay.
I just didn't know who I should.
I think it'll be pretty heavy. I don't know how much a fire hydrant weighs, but
a lot.
They'll probably buy back the.
We're gonna.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Gwen, quick question.
Going back to what you said that the county has just recently done, I just wanted a little clarification because it sounds like the county and its incorporated cities everybody's trying to get on the same page so it isn't that one city ends up dumping homeless on other cities because they're now taking on the Supreme Court action and just like, oh, we're going to do exactly that. We're just going to clean it up and out it goes. So from what I gathered from what you were saying, all entities are trying to get on board with calming it down, and everybody deals with their own portion of the situation.
Sort of what we need is more collaboration. I know that Ronson Chu with the South Bay City Council of Governments is trying to work with all 15 cities, in addition to the harbor area here, to tell them we have to collectively do this. We're not going to sit here and keep moving people from Torrance to Gardena to Carson. Okay, we're not going to play, as Melanie calls it, whack-a-mole. We're not going to do that. So they're trying to get them on board with understanding. And yes, that is what the county is trying to do.
Great.
Is try to unify the LA County Homelessness Initiative is also, and they've been pushing for years for them to work together.
Right. And you're saying, how will this motion and supporting this motion possibly help to support those efforts? Or can there be something said additionally to help support those efforts and maybe even to send a message more to all of California? because Gavin Newsom cleaning up all that area, it was state property that he was seen cleaning up, and all that meant was whack-a-mole sending it off to some poor city.
Jocelyn's not here today, and of course the mayor's been in Paris, but I'm sure she's been in contact with things. I'm anxious to see what conversations she has with Governor Newsom. Obviously, he's not going to just start fining the city of Los Angeles. The county, the city, everybody is trying to work together, Gwen, to figure out, what are logical next steps. They're really pushing hard on the housing, because without the housing, we're never going to have a place to move them to. And it has to be housing that makes sense. So not just shelters.
All right.
I'm not sure if I answered, but.
Thank you. No,
okay. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move on. Appreciate it. We're going to go on to the consent calendar. We have 5 items. The meeting minutes from last month. We will acknowledge the resignation of Pastor Adam Stevenson and approval of the removal of Diana Ney from the Elections and Bylaws Committee. Approval to remove John DeMeglio from Community Issues Committee, and to approve the committees and leadership of and liaisons that are currently listed, to keep them the same until we have our retreat, so that we could maybe relook at some of these committees and the leadership thereof. So I need a motion so that we can approve.
Seconded.
All right. Any discussion? No? Yes.
Are you asking for particular items for discussion, or what?
Well, I mean, we need a motion to approve, and I didn't hear anyone say to remove anything. So
I wanted to. You just started reading, so I didn't know what you were when you said that. You didn't ask if anybody had any opinion on any particular issue.
Do you have one?
I do.
Which one would you like to change?
I'd like to change D, because that was never discussed.
Do you want to take
in
it
our
off the
issues.
consent calendar? Then we'll take that one off the consent
Thank
calendar,
you.
and we'll take that up when after we vote on the other 4. So it's been moved and seconded for the other 4. We're going to hold off on D, and hearing no questions for the others, let's go ahead and take a vote, please.
Okay, for 6A through C and E only. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMeglio.
Present. Present.
That's not a vote.
I'm not voting.
What?
I'm not voting on
It's
this.
only for C and E.
That's okay.
He's not voting.
Cynthia Gagne.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBret.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Chris Faye.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 11 ayes and 1, we're calling it not voted, not abstained.
So we're going to look at item D, the approve the removal of John DeMeglio from Community Issues Committee. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Need a second.
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 I'm not seconding it
So
because I
let's
didn't
have-
vote
let's have-
for it.
Let's
it was never
have the
mentioned.
discussion now. So, Cynthia, you had a.
This is all news to me. I never saw this before. It was never discussed at our issues committee. I never heard of him being removed. And he has been ill, seriously ill, because of an accident on his job. Everybody knows that. I know that. Layla was allowed to be on the board, the executive board, for months, and she never attended a meeting. And she wasn't even sick. But John has an excuse. And now he's coming. He's been receiving some rehabilitation so he can start walking again. He's had a number of operations because of that accident. We can't be that cruel to somebody who's had an accident on the job.
Discussion? Any other questions, comments? John?
And that's one of the reasons Dan and I talked about that, and some of the other people, because we know John was hurt, and we never had a quorum. We were having short of quorum, so John sometimes we never got a call from him, or I got a late call, but John can come back any time. Well, we were hoping that if he's not that ill or anything, this is why we were doing it, just to make sure that he gets himself better and everything. It has nothing to do with just throwing him off. It was just that give him the time to get better, do what he's got to do, and he can come back after.
I have a question. I have questions.
Who's next?
John? DeMeglia?
Yeah. I explained myself several times of what happened to me, to Vic, to John. I've had problems since January 4th. I've done 2 operations so far. I got 1 more to go. Is there a problem? I've done more in that committee than anybody sitting on that committee right now. I fought the board when I wasn't on that committee, when I wasn't on the board. And when I was on the board, I produced the trucks that are still out there, the bathrooms that nobody wanted in the neighborhood that you guys screwed up, parking lights, signals for Taper and Capitol. I'm sorry, Berrywood and Capitol. I produced that. A bus line going from CVS Pharmacy down to Target that was well needed and voted for. What has anybody else done on that committee? I want to know.
I have a question.
You have a question? You have a comment?
I have a question. John, how many people are, there's several questions. How many people are on community issues as members?
I believe there's 6 of us, right?
There's 6.
But one isn't showing who just
6
voted on.
official members.
I need to know the names of the committee members because there aren't any committee members. There's only 4 people
one at a time,
that
please.
show up. 4 or 5 people.
There was
Point
a
of
question.
order,
We're going to get the answer, okay?
So, how many times so far has community issues not been able to vote because of lack of quorum in the last 8 months?
Been probably around 4 or 5 months, right?
4 or 5 months running in a row, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you haven't had quorum,
Last
correct?
month we did have.
So what can you do in order to be able to make a vote? Do you need, how many absences have there been regularly in the last 5 months?
People that have been absent will call in or will send a text. Okay, and I know, and I know John's situation, okay? Yeah. And Dan's been having some situations, and we got a new guy. Now we don't, if there's been any serious voting, we couldn't do it. And it's like I said, John can come back. We know he's hurt. And if he's hurt, it's fine. Get yourself better, do what you got to do. And same thing with Dan. If Dan's not, Dan too is going to have to step down. Because
you can't get anything done.
We can't get anything done. We're, last few months we've only been 3.
So my last question is, John, the Community Issues Committee has been stifled. I know that I've wanted to give community issues a lot of different things, but they can't vote. We understand. We understand that you are hurt. Can you remove yourself just for the period of time until 2 months from now when you're back and healthy, and then you'll be right back?
How do you remove somebody and make a quorum? If you're going to remove somebody, who are you going to put on to take that spot? How many people are you going to make to put the spot?
John,
the problem is you don't have anybody participating in community issues.
Just to point
out, that's
John,
the problem.
what it is.
All right, don't. I'm going to state my statement, and then you can do your statements. Don't direct it to me. I'm directing it to somebody that directed something to me. You guys didn't. She's directing it to me. The problem is that there's a lot of people that quit this issues committee because nothing's being done. And then also Chuck Hart passed away. There was the other guy. Who's the other guy?
David.
David
quit because
David doesn't go anymore.
Central to that.
There's a whole bunch
David Samperio? He didn't have time.
No, not David Samperio.
Just a point of clarification.
David Rivera.
Just
Rivera.
a point of
David
clarification,
Rivera.
please. Quorum is based on the enrollment in the committee, so it's however many people are officially on the committee. So if it was 2 people, you'd have to, or 3 people, you'd have to have 2. So if there were fewer people, then quorum wouldn't be lower. It wouldn't. There's not a fixed number to achieve quorum.
So you don't want any people on that board?
No, however many.
You don't want any people on that committee. How many meetings have you missed in this area? Does anybody have a record of that?
How many meetings have I missed?
Yes.
1.
All since you've been here?
When my daughter graduated from high school.
No, you've missed a lot more than that.
Okay.
What's your point?
I have an excuse.
Thomas?
Not if you don't give it before the meeting. You can't have an excuse.
I gave it to her 2 or 3 times. I've called Mr. John here. How many times have I called Vic?
Thomas?
How many times have I emailed Vic?
Thomas?
I'm wondering if the executive committee, based on what I've heard some people have missed, other people have medical issues. To remove is different from asking somebody to step down. It's pretty serious. I would take offense if I were in that position. So to be able to vote in favor, I'd want to know what the attendance is of every member of that committee. And without that, I can't support that. But if you give me that information, that will change my vote.
Couldn't hear you, John. I could.
So I'm just looking to be able to make an informed decision and make sure we're not treating people differently. Does the executive committee have a list of the attendance of all the members of issues so I could look to see how that compares comparatively, and why we'd be removing one person versus asking Dixon to step down?
The attendance is in the minutes of all the meetings.
So can you, how many people do you have in your committee?
There's John, Dan, Vic, myself, Cynthia, and the new person now is Adrian.
Okay.
Yeah, but he doesn't come to the meetings. He only came once. He hasn't shown up since. And he has not called in for an excuse.
Well, he only missed 1 meeting last month.
No, it's been more than 1.
We only voted him on last month.
Okay. But he's been coming to the meetings just once.
Well, that's why I asked.
Once we voted him on,
that's why I asked John if that was okay with him, because I wanted him to be able to understand what it was, and since that's a consistent thing, we understand that you have surgeries. We understand. That's why I was asking you and trying to communicate the quorum thing, because you're consistently, you have a health issue that you're trying to work through right now. And so because of that length of time, I mean,
I think if we put more people on that committee, then it would cover it. But there's not enough people. There's not enough people that want to be on that committee because nothing happens.
So, John, question. So, what would happen? See, because I get kind of what John's saying too, because he's been out sick, but it's not just him that's been absent.
We know that.
It's not just him. So why is he the only one being removed on the agenda?
I'm targeted. I got a big target on my back. And that's one of the problems right there. She just shouted out at me. That's a big problem right there.
I'm sorry.
But what about Dan? If Dan's not coming,
Dan's having issues too, and I'm going to get with.
How come he's not on that list?
Because we just now these last few months he's been.
Thank you. I worked with Dan a long time. I don't think he deserved to be off that committee either.
Whoa. Well, it's not a deserve.
So,
Is it? It's not a deserve.
my recollection when this was brought up at executive was really only about the functionality of the committees. We had a similar issue with youth and outreach, and when numerically it wasn't a problem, we didn't have to bring it up. So as long as we were able to meet quorum and vote on any action items, if somebody was unexcused or whatever it wasn't a problem because we could still get on with the business. And my understanding was when this was presented in the context of issues is that if they didn't have enough people to vote, well, that was the problem. And I didn't perceive that it went anywhere beyond that.
Well, maybe we need to make a minimum of how many people on each committee, so someone gets hurt, we can cover this stuff.
So
something's wrong with the whole system here.
So what we're going to do is that we definitely have well, we have people who are, making an argument for or against the issue, and we'll take one more comment. I'm going to recognize Vic, and then we're going to take a vote, and you can vote yes or no.
In response to Thomas's question about the attendance, I can give part of that. I can't give for each individual because most of the other individuals, when they have been absent, have been excused because they notified us ahead of time. The bylaws and standing rules clearly say, especially the standing rules for the committee, that if a committee member is absent, unexcused, 2 times, they are subject to removal. By my count, John has been unexcused absent at least 4 times this year. However, as he mentioned earlier, which is irrelevant to the committee, but he did he does notify me when he is not going to be at the board meeting ahead of time. But he has not been notifying the committee chair or chairs that he was going to be absent before the meeting at least 4 times. And separate from the quorum issue, that violates the standing rules.
A quick follow-up.
If I can, Thomas, I think I saw Matt get up. He wanted to make a statement. And
I just want to rebuttal for Vic, since he's stating the bylaws. It's 2 consecutive meetings. And then if we're going
That is incorrect.
Cool story, Vic. Anyway, we have our opposing opinions. That's fine. We all know my dad. He was against the Zoom thing. He's against the Zoom and all the technology thing because he's not up to date with a computer. So you guys are being ableist because he isn't able to, he's not up to date with a computer. You guys get his emails sometimes. They don't make sense sometimes. I have to help him do the studies on the computer because he's not that good at computers. So yeah, you guys don't get the emails. You guys don't get the text. I'm also his ride right now. So when I work, I can't take him. I get off at 5. I get off at 6. I get off at 7. By that time, the meeting's already over, so he didn't send his text. And I don't know when I could be getting off. So that's just my support in his situation.
Thank you, Matt.
I can offer to be his ride. I'll go pick him up if that's the problem.
We have a motion in front of us, and we really need to get it voted on. Thomas and then Gwen, please make them brief so that we can get on with this and move on, because our agenda is going to be late.
Just wanted to share. I was looking at the agenda minutes as Chris suggested, and there was one set of minutes on there dated January 23rd, which has just vanished while I've been sitting here. So there's no ability for me to know the vote. So thank you, Vic, for answering my question.
Gwen?
Matt and John, I just provided Thomas advance notice because I knew, because it's a long-term issue, that I'm not going to be able to make the Port Sustainability and Environmental Committee meeting. I did this now, and it's weeks away. It doesn't have to be right then. If there's a long-term issue, saying, I will not be able to attend, and it looks like I can't make it for 5 months, but I will let you know if it changes, that is reasonable. And that gives you the five months. And that also gives the chair people for community issues to say, John, I know that we've had these other absences. Because you have this long-term issue for that, can we just think for like the 5 months, would you consider stepping down so we can make sure that we have quorum, because we have other people who have other issues too, just for that time, and then we'll reinstitute you at that time or whatever. That's more communicative. And John, 3 people makes a committee. 3. 2 people there makes quorum. It doesn't matter if there's 20 people on a committee or 3. 2 people are what you need for quorum. So what's happened is
No.
Well,
Not
I'm just exaggerating.
It changes as your amount of your committee goes up in your quorum.
That's what I'm saying. For 3.
One more than half.
It's more than
50%. One more person than half.
But what I'm saying is, for 3 people, you need 2 for quorum. So if you have a small committee, I'm just saying.
Also
Does that make
states that I need to be on a committee. Is that correct?
Well, right.
Is there anything in there in the bylaws that say if a guy is disabled, and if a guy can't make it, and if a guy is elected on this board and he can't make it, and he tells John Barbera and he tells Vic that I've not been able to make it from day one, and I've had extensive conversations with John Barbera. And he says, stay out as long as you can, John. Once you go back to work, I'm injured. I'm hurt. I got one more operation to do. I don't know when that's going to happen. I just did 2 operations. Where's the problem? There's no issues coming out of the issue committee at all. There's nothing that's coming out of the issue committee.
Because they can't make quorum.
No, they can make a quorum. One person missing doesn't miss a quorum.
John, we're going to take a vote now.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so with that, let's go ahead and take the vote count on the motion.
We've called for the vote.
We have to vote.
Okay, John Barbera?
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. John DeMiglio?
No.
Cynthia Gagne?
No.
Gwen Henry?
Abstain.
Melanie Lebrecht?
Abstain.
Kelly Miller?
Come back to you. Come back to you.
Abby Norman?
Abstain.
Thomas Norman?
No.
Ray Regalado?
Yes.
Michael Signorelli?
No.
Chris Valle?
Yes.
Kelly Miller?
I wish we were wording it differently, but yes.
Okay. Okay, 5 ayes, 4 nays, 3 abstentions. So that carries.
Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to go on to item number 7, motions. First one's budget and finance.
Okay. The first one is on PMR on page 15. None of these are out of committee because I was stuck in Miami and couldn't get home because my flight got canceled. So we did not have a budget and finance committee meeting. So all of these will have to have a move and a second. So this is the MER for July. And we had a total expenditure of $769.45 plus the $2,500 for the peace thing, the day of peace. So, which leaves a balance of $28,730.55. So, with that, do I have someone to move?
So moved, Norman Thomas.
Huh? Yes? Or
Yes.
Thomas? Okay. A second?
Kelly Miller?
Kelly.
Kelly.
Okay. Now discussion. Any discussion? Okay. Let me. So, no discussion. Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Dick Christensen?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Next is the next page is the budget. And you have all the stuff up at top. And for the basic stuff, we have retreat budgeted in there and everything. The audio services paid and the minute taking for June. And then you have the stuff for the events all under outreach. And then the grants, $3,000. And then, like I stated before, last month I was going to make a new column to separate the unallocated funds. So it's called Unallocated Neighborhood Council Funds. And they have their own little column over there. And then expenditures, so $28,730.55.
Good line.
Huh?
Yeah, I like that.
Alrighty, so again, we need another motion to move it.
So moved.
Seconded, if you need it.
Chris, and then Gwen. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Yes.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Aye.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, the next item is a motion for paper because we are out of it for the mailroom. We've used an abundance of paper and gone through the whole 10 reams that we provided them with our large agenda packets. So they need more paper. So again, this is not out of committee because of no meeting. So I need a motion for $100 for 10 reams of paper.
So moved, the $100.
Seconded. Oh,
Thomas
Gwen.
and second
Vic.
Gwen?
No.
Vic. Oh, Vic?
Needs a win.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, and that is it.
Okay, item B under 7, and that's going to be executive committee. I want to have a quick discussion or your consideration for a retreat, and I have some dates I'd like to float out there. First of all, I'd like to know if there is a preference if we have a retreat, whether it be a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday or Sunday.
Yes.
But Saturday or Sunday?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
In light of many of them being Saturday and knowing we've got a member who has religious observances,
Yes.
would ask
What?
to try to do Sundays.
We have a member who does observe On Saturday, yes.
Yeah.
So Sunday would probably be even more possibility.
Yeah. So should we shoot for a Sunday then?
We do it late afternoon because I go to church on Sunday too.
I think an afternoon Sunday would be fine as long as we could get the police station. To accommodate people that are Christian too that go to church on Sunday to
those who are observant. Yeah.
It would have to be that for a Friday evening, but
or
a Friday evening, but the evening
Friday evenings just are not good.
Yeah.
I have my baby
No.
date. I don't give up my baby date for nothing.
I beg your
My
pardon?
grandson's date.
That's your religion, right?
Your grandson.
Yeah.
I got
Family
it.
time.
It's my baby date. My
Yeah,
grandson.
as an agnostic, I'd just like to say I'd like to pick whichever date works for the greatest number of board members.
Okay.
I'm sure too, Ray, if the police station's not available, we could find a way to make Peck Park available,
Even if it's a Sunday?
even if it's a Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good.
Wonderful.
For those of you who go to Sunday services, would Sunday morning services be workable on those days for you all, so that we can do maybe early afternoon?
Yeah, early afternoon would be good.
What
I
days
get out
are
of
we
church
looking
like
at?
12:30.
It also depends on what days.
Sunday.
I know, but what?
Okay. Well, in this case, I'm going to propose either September 8th or September 1st. Those are Sundays.
September 1st is
No.
better because the
Huh?
8th, my mom's having surgery.
The first is the Sunday before Labor Day, Monday the
Oh, is it?
2nd.
Okay.
So that's
All right.
probably not a good idea.
Never mind the first.
So we're definitely doing this in September.
So September 8th is the day before our next board meeting as well, so it might be, that's a greater time ask over that weekend, but then we would, whatever it is we talk about, we could,
We can't agendize a liaison change or anything like that. It
No.
would come the next month.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hurry, but I'm just saying we would be meeting 2 nights in a row.
Yeah.
So
What about the
then-
15th? You just don't want to see us 2 days.
No,
I'm just kidding.
What about the 15th? What about 22nd?
So is that people not?
So the next Sunday is the 15th of September.
It is. Yeah, I can't do it.
15th, I can do it.
My
The 8th or the
mom's having
15th is good for
surgery.
me.
How many couldn't do?
So I have mom duty. I won't be able to leave the house.
I just wanted to clarify how many couldn't do the 8th. I know we might not want to do 2 nights, but was that a conflict for anyone?
I can do the 8th.
What?
The 8th?
The 8th isn't a conflict, even though it means we see each other twice. That's not so bad. If we get along.
No, I'm just saying we'd have some momentum.
I can't do the 8th.
We'd have some momentum,
That whole 2 weeks.
Yeah, but the issue would be because I want to focus on committees and things like that, we would not be able to put it on the agenda unless. Can we do a special meeting on that day?
Do it the 7th.
That's a Saturday.
I know. Can we do it the 7th instead?
Maybe the afternoon.
On Saturday? The only thing is, the 8th and the 15th, I'm out because starting the 8th, my mom has surgery on her shoulder.
I heard you.
And I am housebound.
I heard you. We heard you. So that's why we're trying to make an
On the
accommodation.
29th of September.
Why don't we do it February 12th?
Yeah.
No, do it the 14th.
Right?
Do Valentine's Day.
September 7th works for me.
That'll
And again,
absolve all of us from
I was gonna
any
do
obligations.
that, but I wanted to see how many hearts they would bring on
The
Valentine's.
22nd of September would work because I'm done, or the 29th.
The 7th is the LA Neighborhood Council Coalition monthly
Yeah.
meeting.
September what?
The 7th. I've already got it down for the LA Neighborhood Council Coalition meeting is that morning. And then the Grunion Gala, so 7th is pretty busy for me.
So it seems like if there's a Saturday, we're more or less automatically excluding one person. If it's the 8th or the 15th, then there's a different person for a different reason. But what's the least impactful date we could choose?
The 22nd.
The 8th or the 15th? No.
I can't do the 22nd.
Because the 8th is her surgery.
Yeah, we may not have a date that works perfectly
And
for
I'm
everybody.
housebound.
I've had to miss them myself. So
I could get away
I
maybe
can't do
the
the 15th.
on Saturday.
So it seems like
But the 15th.
We're looking at the 7th or the 8th, I guess?
The 14th?
The 14th, I could get away. That's a Saturday.
Oh.
though.
It's the day of the peace.
No, Day of Peace is the 21st. Yeah.
The what? What's the
day,
21st?
the day of peace.
So September 14th or 7th seems to be.
Are we now considering a Saturday?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, because if it's important to get things agendized, then we'll have to consider a Saturday.
Saturdays.
Now, Thomas, did I hear you say you might have is there something?
Oh, I don't have to go to that. I put this, I can go on the 7th. I just thought others might have the same conflict. If anybody else attends the LA Neighborhood Council Coalition, you know, they're sometimes interesting, but not that interesting. So the 7th works for me. I would put this ahead of that.
The 7th works for you.
The 7th would work for me. Does the 7th work for you, Glenn? Yeah.
Yeah.
September 7th.
It seems to get the most yeses.
Are we sure Craig can make it? Oh, I mean,
No,
Why
I'm
don't we
sure
just
he can.
do
wouldn't be able to
it
make a
on
Friday.
Saturday for him, and he
Yeah.
can make it after Temple.
No.
I mean, I
he's
don't know when his
observant the whole
temple is
day.
over.
Until sunset. It's an observance from Friday evening to Saturday evening.
But sometimes he says it's just for Temple to be able to go, and that if I got the impression from him, if it was later, he could come on a Saturday.
I believe that.
I did
proper
too, that later
observance
on a
is
on a
sunset to
Saturday.
sunset.
How long is our meeting going to be?
I don't know if it's
So maybe 2 to
appropriate
5.
for
So Craig
interpret
can come.
religious laws and elected secretary.
That'd be good.
So I am hearing the 7th now.
Mm-hmm.
Ask for it.
Is Lori our resident?
Don't do that.
Oh, never mind.
So, with that, okay, 7 seems to be the one that's working best for us.
Mm-hmm.
Can we look at a time frame that works now?
9 a.m.?
How about 2?
I was going to suggest 10 to 2.
I was going to say 2 to
That's what we
5.
did last time.
2 to 5, I like.
But 2 is the worst case scenario. Hopefully, we can get out much earlier than that. So I'm not saying that we got to hang out till 2, but 10 to 2 would be the time frame to mark out. Yes? No?
Yeah. I know I can't do the 7th.
Work?
I'm out of town.
Oh, okay.
September 7th.
And that's kind of important for having Peck Park available.
Yeah.
Is the police station available, or do we know what's available?
So we kind of nixed the September 1st because it's a Labor Day weekend, but is that like a...
No, that's a
So no go?
hard no for me. September 1st is a big
Okay, so, but what I, just for reference, we want to make accommodations for people's religious practices, but the vacations are more sacred?
Yeah.
I won't be in town.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, again, so I again, as long as I'm not working, I don't have a problem. But if we want to we want most people there, and we want to be able to agendize things if something important comes up.
Yeah.
So, and then our board meeting is the 9th. So
the 7th seems to work, except there are now 2 people that won't be there.
and we have an issue with the
Venue.
location. Yeah.
Well,
That depends on
if the
that
7th
depends
is
on whether we can get the LAPD.
If the we should probably be able to get the police station on Sunday.
We did last time on a Saturday.
On a Saturday.
Okay.
If it's the 7th and we can't make it, then can't do it here. Then I'll rush over and talk to McGuire and see if we can do.
We can do it at your house.
What?
At your house.
No.
Well, if Michael can't be here on the 7th, then that means we can't do this place. It'll have to be
is
the
there an
harbor
alternative
station.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
That I'll rush over and see.
Was it no?
Was
Yeah.
the 14th and
What happened with the 14th?
Alternate?
The 14th.
What happens with the 14th?
What's that?
It still comes after the 13th.
No, the 14th's fine on that Saturday.
I think everybody
because
was fine
Ted
with
can.
14th, except for one individual.
Oh, no, I couldn't do the 14th either. Same conflict. Yeah, I have a celebration of life event.
Okay. So this, yeah.
Thomas, you said?
Yep, 14th and 15th, I'll be out of town.
Okay.
And the 21st
First is the Day of
the
Peace.
Day of Peace.
Yeah.
Do I dare mention maybe the 28th? I hate to do it.
The 28th probably would be great. Or the 29th.
That is the day of the neighborhood Congress of Neighborhood Councils.
Oh, okay. Congress, okay.
And also Snarky Puppies playing in Long Beach.
Who is?
I just have tickets for that.
But what about the 29th?
As long as it's Snarky Puppy. As long as they're done by 6.
Can't miss that snarky.
I just already paid for it. That's all.
Oh, that's the day of Congress, is the 28th?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually going to be my question, unrelated to anything else. Is anybody planning on attending this year?
Don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm planning on attending. That's why I went over to. That's why I went over.
I think we
wondered
all
why he
need
didn't announce
to
it.
really make an effort to attend on the
Yes,
28th.
we all need to make an effort to attend.
What about the 29th?
So it's the 29th out
Sunday,
then?
the 29th.
That's the 28th.
Yeah, let's do the 29th. We'll
The 29th is Sunday?
Yeah. That would be fine.
Yes?
I could do that.
Everybody?
29.
The 29th of September?
Yes.
I got Snoop Dogg tickets.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What time does he start?
Snoop?
8 o'clock in the morning till
Very late.
10 o'clock at night. It's all the good bands.
You should have said 6 in the morning. But
It's only Snoop
John,
Dogg.
I'm going to
We
smack
saw them
you.
all over the Olympics. So.
Actually,
Unless
it
it's
starts
the
on
Beach
Saturday and goes on. It's all weekend.
I know.
Honestly, okay, look. Can we do the 29th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
How about this? How about this?
No, I don't want to. How about this? I want the 29th. I got to get this done. We got to get out of here.
it's time to get out of here.
Everybody that can or cannot?
Can do the 29th.
Can?
Yes.
Can.
Yeah.
Can.
God bless.
I think that's our answer.
God bless America.
And
We can
it's
do it.
Sunday.
Cheryl? Yeah, okay.
And
Tell
John's
Craig it's
inviting
Sunday.
Snoop Dogg.
Okay, the 29th, 10 to 2.
Yes.
Cynthia, tell
Show
Craig
Long
it's
Beach
Sunday.
how we do it.
Oh, that's right. That's
Tell
right.
Craig it's Sunday.
Let's do 12 to 3.
12 to 3.
Yes?
12 to 3.
12 to 3?
12 to 3.
Okay.
Going once?
Sold.
What? Did someone say, oh?
And, you know, that works out better for me to organize the food, too, to give pickup sticks.
Yeah.
Time for catering.
And is that, are we looking for the police station, or are we looking?
Not
Can,
this one.
can
but
we
not
do
in
the
general.
29th here?
We could do Peck Park the 29th.
Sunday? Will you be here? You'll be
Yeah,
here?
I'll be here.
Yeah, you'll be here.
Yes.
Huh?
No, we don't need sound. It's only that, do we?
No.
It's a public
Well-
meeting.
It is a public thing, but we didn't have microphones.
You guys,
in there.
please.
We had
Yeah, wait till much fun over there.
So, 29th,
Here.
12 to 3, Peck
Okay.
Park. John, I don't think we really need, because we'll be kind of
We never
compact.
used microphones.
No.
We did
At any of the retreats.
handheld recorders last time.
Besides, we can set the tables like a round table, do some kumbaya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can set it like this, and I can find we have a Bluetooth speaker at least if we have something small.
We usually sit real close
It is a
together.
public.
So,
it
it's
is a
the
public
29th.
Yeah, it's a
please-
good go.
Please reflect the 29th, 10 to 3, Peck Park, and 12 to 3. So,
Sunday, fun day.
and I put down 10 to 3. Jeez.
You can show up early if you want.
Yeah, you can set the
okay.
chairs up.
All right. That takes care of executive committee. President's meeting with the port.
It was dark. No report.
Dark. Committee reports. From the executive committee, we have vacant seats, Averill area seat and non-governmental seat. If you know someone who can fill it, do some recruiting so we can get them in place. So it's on all of us to do that.
Kay Nicholas expressed some interest. I told him to reach out to you for the NGO.
Okay.
And it was Avril and what again?
Non-governmental?
Non-governmental.
Non-governmental.
Elections and bylaws, I'm going to say that I'm going to have to schedule an election and bylaws meeting. So that will also be coming up for those who are on that committee, and I'll get in touch with them. Budget and finance, anything, committee? Melanie?
The only thing with budget and finance, there was, like I said, a meeting, but I did receive our report for already the letter right after I did the whole thing for the meeting. This time we've got our unallocated, our rollover amount that's $7,531.53. So that will be on the agenda for next month.
All right.
It's rolled over.
Public safety?
No meeting because I was in Galapagos.
Youth and outreach?
We did meet. Main points would be we're continuing to work on the Day of Peace with the working group. We had a discussion about the future of the advocate, considering the changes to our election format. It seems like a special edition for the election is probably more important than the average election year. And then also just continuing to solicit any input, ideas, requests for social media postings from any, at this point, I was originally asking for committee chairs, but if you're, and you should be, a member of a committee and you have some business, some interest, some item coming out of your committee, or any board member for that matter, reach out to me. If you have some camera-ready art or you have some copy or just an idea, you can text or email me. We'll try and get that posted. What we're trying to do is have a more regular publication schedule on our social media to kind of take some of the pressure off of needing to publish things in print so that we could both get the information out there more timely and more cheaply. So that's that.
Thank you. Community issues?
No meeting.
No meeting. Port and environmental sustainability?
No quorum, no minutes.
Planning and land use? She's not here. She's the Christensen Science Center ad hoc committee?
Just very briefly, I can't remember if I mentioned this last time. There are 3 chickens back, but we don't know why.
The same chickens? Or
Make sure the record reflects
not the
there
same.
are 3 chickens.
I mean, they got removed supposedly because the STEM tech who was working there was reassigned, and there wouldn't be anybody to take care of them. Yet now there are 3 back as of at least a week ago, and I've yet to find out who's taking care of them. But this gives more mixed signals from LAUSD that supposedly they were removed because there wouldn't be somebody to take care of them, and now they're bringing them back. So I don't know what's going on at this point. But that's the only news I have.
Thank you. That takes care of committee reports, liaison reports. Angela's not here for the animal shelter. LA Department of Water and Power, Dan Nixon, not here. Public Works, nothing to report at this time. LA Film Liaison, Cynthia?
Nothing to report at this
Nothing.
time.
Sustainability Alliance, NC Sustainability Alliance Liaison, Gwen?
Nothing.
Nothing.
At this moment.
Data Liaison?
Nothing.
Question?
Nothing? Yes?
Well, later.
Between the two? Nothing?
No.
No. Nothing?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Nothing.
Okay. We are now down to agenda item announcements.
Not announcements, but I did have a question in the packet on page 22. Is our draft letter for the Vincent Thomas Bridge project? I was just wondering, its inclusion.
It was submitted.
Yeah, but its inclusion is here. I'm looking at.
There is.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, but what we were supposed to turn in by the 15th of July was turned in on the 14th.
Yes. I just was curious about its existence in the packet.
Anything else? No?
I'll just quickly comment on that. Once that was sent and I read McCosker's, I contacted our Assembly member, Al Maritsucci, as well as Gibson, to see if they had any comments, and they didn't have any comments at that point. So I might encourage others to let the state representatives that actually can oversee that department, let them know they should be taking a statement and taking what we think the impact of San Pedro and Wilmington is very seriously to help us.
And for another announcement, so the Community Forestry Advisory Committee is going to be submitting an extensive series of comments on the landscape ordinance for planning. It's a planning and land use item, and then there will be another round after these basic this particular ordinance review and a series of comments. The online version of being able to submit applications for developments and things like that is at a fast clip. There are changes in the ordinances all the way across the board. And yes, CFAC is submitting a massive amount of comments for improving.
Thank you.
Question.
Okay. It's late
So,
November, so.
For the 29th for retreat, everybody's good with pickup sticks again, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how many extra people am I planning?
Pickup Sticks is not around here anymore.
I know, but they'll deliver. They deliver from a different place anyway, not this one. Also, how many extra people am I planning for?
I think we could maybe take those questions offline. Just
Okay.
Okay. So.
Because I'm going to have to call soon, like
that's
right
fine.
away.
Offline.
Okay.
Any other general public comments, non-agenda items? I see no hands. Next meeting's Monday the 9th, September 9th at 6. Thank you. Adjourned.
Thank you.
Huh?
I'll take one.
Yeah.
I'll take one. No, give me one.
Yeah. Why don't we print double-sided?
Why don't they print back to back?
But we